Chapter 1806. Chen Zhao was also caught off guard. Adopt children. And 8 at once. To be honest, Chen Zhao and Fei Lai were still kids. It was already hard for them to take care of little Jerlin and Larissa. Adopt 8 more children. Ignoring the troublesome legal procedures, Chen Zhao didn't have to worry about that. Their physical and mental health and futures were all things he had to consider. Fei Lai, do you want to adopt them? Chen Zhao asked. I don't know. When Fei Lai said this, it meant that she was tempted. Chen Zhao's head swelled. Adopt children, adopt 8 children. Fei Lai looked up at Chen Zhao. What about you? As long as you give me a definite answer. Yes or no? Fei Lai gritted her teeth. I want to, but I'm scared. Fine, leave the rest to me. Chen Zhao stood up and walked into the dining room. The children were still wolfing down their food. Only Xinli looked up at Chen Zhao. Xinli, why do you want Fei Lai and me to adopt you? Chen Zhao asked. Because you're powerful. You can help us get revenge. Also, I want to become stronger. Can you represent the other children? Also, where are your grandfathers and grandmothers? Chen Zhao looked at Xinli Sing. If they want to adopt you, I won't be able to legally do so. We don't have any blood relatives within 3 generations. Xinli looked at Chen Zhao calmly. So, as long as you're willing, no one will fight with you. They're like me. They don't have a choice. I need to discuss this with Knots. At the end of the day, they were Knots' relatives, not Chen Zhao's. Moreover, even if Chen Zhao adopted them, it wouldn't be for revenge. It wasn't for revenge, nor was it to train them into killers. Chen Zhao had never thought about adopting them either. Of course, he didn't reject it either. Chen Zhao was someone who didn't have great kindness or evil thoughts. Adopting a child wasn't just about providing food and shelter. He already had 2 little demons at home. Now there were 8 more. Chen Zhao felt his head hurt just thinking about it. Sister Knots can't teach me magic. I can't teach them either, Chen Zhao said. You must have a way to make people stronger, Xinli Sing said with certainty. Stay here for now. I'll think about your idea. Chen Zhao didn't say anything definite. This wasn't something he and Fei Lai could decide. What the child thought was one thing, what Navat Singer thought was another. Nah what's, it's me. Chen, what is it? Fei Lai wants to adopt these children. Chen Zhao went straight to the point. On the other end of the line, Navat Singh was silent for a moment. Chen Zhao did not speak either. He waited for Navat's reply. What about the children? Children have this tendency too. Chen Zhao did not say much. I'm fine, Navat said. Protect them. Chen Zhao hung up. Navat's intention was similar to Chen Zhao's. He did not take the initiative to object, nor did he take the initiative to agree. Chen Zhao took a deep breath. This seemed to be big trouble. 10 children. 10 children. What have I done? In the night, Fei Lai turned and rubbed Chen Zhao. Chen, are you asleep? No, Chen Zhao replied. Chen, if you don't want to, I won't force you. Of course not. I like children. I like our home to be more lively. Chen Zhao pulled Fei Lai into his arms. We have this condition. Plus, little Jerlin and little Larissa can have more older brothers and sisters. I suddenly think this is a great idea. Actually, Fei Lai also knew that it was because she couldn't have more children. But she still wanted more children. Okay, Chen Zhao could understand Fei Lai. Chen Zhao didn't object. So what if they had a few more children? Anyway, it was just more effort. The next day, early in the morning, Alex glanced at the time. Anger surfaced on her face. She was furious that Chen Zhao would call her at this time. Chen, if you can't give me a satisfactory answer, I'll make you regret it. Fei Lai and I discussed it. We suddenly want to adopt 8 children. Wait, speak clearly. Alex suddenly became clear-headed. How many did you say? 8. Orphans. Do they have guardians? Age, background, identity. We'll talk about the details in the morning. Alex also felt a bit of a headache. Alex ran over in a hurry. She looked at Chen Zhao and Fei Lai, who were eating breakfast absent-mindedly. Tell me the situation. What's going on? There are 8 children. Their parents died in a fire yesterday, Chen Zhao said. Fei Lai and I want to adopt them. It's that simple. I need their detailed information and identification. I'll have someone send it over later, Chen Zhao said. Alex, will the adoption process be difficult? Fei Lai asked. Do they have any immediate family members? No. Chen Zhao shook his head. Then it shouldn't be a problem. Will someone come out to fight for custody? If there's no immediate family within the second generation, the court and the Minor Protection Association will determine if there are collateral relatives within the second generation, as well as if they're willing to raise the child and if the child is willing to follow them. If any of them are unwilling, the child will be sent to an orphanage. Then what do we need to do? Nothing much. You just need to prove that you have the income and that your family can raise the child. I'll make the proof for you. Of course, Fei Lai is a member of the Coastal Rescue Team, so it's even better. If you're worried about other problems, you can donate some money to a charity, preferably one for minors. Actually, in America, adopting children was a very utilitarian thing. Of course, from a normal perspective, it was a win-win situation. The orphanage would receive donations to lighten the burden. The adopter would get the child, and the child would get a family and parents. So, in principle, the wealthier the adopter, the better. I'll leave this to you, Chen Zhao said. A while later, Not Singh and Dellimore came, bringing the children's information. Alex met the 8 children and learned about their actual situation. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai also learned all the children's names. Chapter 1807. President, we'll go back tomorrow. West called Chen Zhao. Looks like you didn't find the giant, Chen Zhao said in a mocking tone. If they found the giant, they would definitely send him a message. If they were to come back so suddenly, they must have failed. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't blame them. No one could be 100% sure that they would be able to find the legendary Nordic giants. West's reply was rather boring. President, we actually found the giant and completed the mission. Found it? And completed the mission? Chen Zhao asked in disbelief, his eyes wide. Yes, we found it. West was getting more and more bored. Since you found it, why are you in such a bad mood? You don't seem happy at all. You don't even seem excited. I can't be excited, West said. West said, this mission isn't difficult at all. It's much easier than besieging the Turin. Are the legendary Norse giants weak? No, the real Norse giants should be very strong. The real Norse giants. Isn't the giant the mission was referring to? It's a 2-headed giant with a bit of Norse giant blood in him. He's huge, savage, and bloodthirsty. All of us were fully prepared, but we stepped on a landmine that Klaus had prepared beforehand, and one of our legs was blown off. Chen Zhao was speechless too. One leg exploded by a landmine. Either Klaus had set some super powerful landmine or the giant was really weak. No wonder West was so depressed. He'd rushed over excitedly, but he'd encountered such a thing. Aren't you still in Norway? It's very close to the North Sea. Aren't you going to search for the North Sea monster? The North Sea monster has already been captured alive. It's indeed a shockingly huge monster, over 1,000 tons. I feel like it doesn't live up to its name. Yeah, how boring. Whatever. No matter what, completing a mission is something to be happy about, Chen Zhao comforted. Did you inform Wenk Sieg? Yes, she's in L now. 3 missions, $200 million. In terms of investment, it wasn't a loss. In fact, it was a huge profit. Of course, this was only applicable to a capable team or individual. If it was the kind of people or teams that did not have the strength, they would probably just be throwing their lives away. Chen Zhao was still on the phone with West. Suddenly, someone tugged at his pants. Chen Zhao looked down and saw a girl tugging at his pants. Mara, what's wrong? I'm not Mara, I'm Sindora, the girl said in a trembling voice. Can I go to the beach to play? Uncle. Okay. Chen Zhao realized that he didn't remember the girl's name. To be more precise, he was confused. Xanli, come here. Chen Zhao waved his hand. Xanli walked up to him. Mr. Chen, what can I do for you? Since you're going to be adopted, you can call me uncle from now on. Of course, if you want to call me dad, I won't object. Chen Zhao would not force them to change their surnames and recognize a dad. Especially Xinli Sing. She was already 15 years old, going to be 16 soon. If she called him uncle, Chen Zhao would feel like he was at a disadvantage. Of course, calling him brother wasn't appropriate either. Sure, uncle, Xinli Sing replied straightforwardly. Tell me each child's name and age, Chen Zhao said. I can't remember. The one who ran to you is Sindora. She's the youngest among us, 5 years old, Xinli Sing said patiently. Then, she pointed at each child and explained, Mara is that one. She's 6. She's Sindora's cousin. That one is, Didala, 12, female. Crow, 11, male. Thurintia, 8, female. Penance, 7, male. Badilage, 7, female. Mara, 6, female. Sindora, 5, female. Including Xinli Sing, who was 15, there were 15 children in total. They were all from the same family. They all had the same surname. Okay, I got it. After lunch, follow me out to buy some daily necessities and clothes for you. Just then, Portia came. But she suddenly realized that the entire villa was filled with children. Boss, where did you kidnap so many children? They're all my children, starting from today, Chen Zhao said. Ha! Portia wouldn't believe it. Smiling, Chen Zhao looked at Portia. I've decided to give you a raise. Really, boss? Portia was overjoyed. Of course. Chen Zhao was full of smiles. Looking at Chen Zhao's smile, Portia suddenly realized that something was wrong. Boss. They're really your children. Of course. Chen Zhao nodded. Portia finally understood why Chen Zhao wanted to raise her salary. Boss, I want to quit. Think about the money you owe me. Then you won't quit like this. Portia wanted to cry. If these children were really Chen Zhao's children, then she would undoubtedly be the one with the heaviest burden. Boss, how much will you give me? $1 is a form of encouragement for you. Let's go to the supermarket first. Chen Zhao patted Portia's shoulder. Portia wanted to cry as she drove. She hated driving an RV. She hated children. She hated her boss. The children started making a fuss in the RV. Especially the younger children, they did not have too much hatred in their hearts. Jerlin and Larissa were the happiest. They suddenly had so many friends in one night. Portia cursed Chinzhao, but she didn't know that Chinzhao was in even more pain. Chinzhao realized that the 10 children piled together was like an endless hell. Thankfully, Xanli knew how to help Chinzhao share the burden. Moreover, she had quite a bit of prestige among the children. They finally reached the supermarket. Chinzhao and Portia each carried Jerlin and Larissa. The other children scattered like a pack of wolves. "Come back. Don't run around," Xanli shouted. "Don't make trouble for Uncle." "Everyone, push a shopping cart," Chinzhao said. "Pick your favorite toothbrush, towel, bath towel, 2 of your favorite toys, 2 of your favorite snacks, and 3 sets of pajamas. Also, don't disappear from my sight or run around," Chinzhao added. Chapter 1808. Children entering a supermarket is a disaster. Not only was it a disaster for his parents, it was also a disaster for the supermarket. The only thing missing from every supermarket was a sign at the entrance that said children and dogs were not allowed to enter. 10 children was almost equivalent to the end of the world. Alright, Xanli was only half one. However, older children had their own needs. "Uncle, I need some skincare products and cosmetics. The total can't exceed $1,000, Chinzhao said. Since there were so many children, they couldn't indulge everyone. Chinzhao was rich, but that didn't mean he could let his kids squander it. Chinzhao could afford it, but he couldn't let them develop this habit. Since he had adopted them, he had to be responsible for their future. Even in the future, they would have a share of his assets. What Chinzhao needed to do first was not feed their property to the dogs. If they really raised a prodigal, Chinzhao would at most make sure they didn't starve to death. From now on, Chinzhao had to control their spending. Not only them, but little Jerlin and little Larissa's spending also needed to be controlled. Of course, even if it was controlled, their consumption was still much higher than that of their peers from ordinary families. "Portia, go to the counter over there and buy 10 cell phones." 10. "Does little Larissa want one too?" "Yes, treat everyone equally. Adopt a child who is not related to you by blood." What was the most difficult part? It was to treat them equally. No matter how one treated their own children, they should give them the same affection and gifts. You can't just say that you don't want to buy gifts for your children. Conversely, a child's mentality is very fragile. Chinzhao didn't want to leave a shadow in the child's mind. Of course, adopting other children would also be beneficial to little Jerlin and little Larissa. They had role models, and their brothers and sisters were their role models. After leaving the supermarket, Chinzhao could only take the things that everyone else had bought in the supermarket. Even Portia couldn't carry them all. There were simply too many things. "Boss, where are we going next?" "To the Baron's mansion." The whole family went to the Baron's mansion in a grandiose manner. When Zola saw that Chinzhao had brought so many kids here, she felt a chill run down her spine. Similarly, he was startled. "Zola, these are my children. I adopted them." Zola's mouth was wide open, her face full of shock. Of course, she would not say anything unpleasant in front of the children. However, she couldn't imagine what it was like to adopt so many children. Hee. Mentality. Chinzhao was about to explode. But what could he do? Were they going to tell the kids that they had been refunded? So be it. He couldn't let the children's mentality explode, right? Today was only the first day. There was still a long way to go. Even if Fei Lai wanted a refund, Chinzhao wouldn't agree. "Do you have enough designers here? Design 3 outfits for each of them. Chen Zhao couldn't let the 3 pillars of the Baroness be responsible for so many children's clothes. If that was the case, it would be looking down on them too much. The 3 of them were on good terms with Chen Zhao, so Chen Zhao had to give them face. Zola didn't hold back and called over a dozen designers. Baroness was such a big brand. Of course, it wouldn't only have 2 or 3 kittens. Apart from the 3 pillars, there were dozens of ordinary designers and even more designers' assistants. To Zola, dozens of outfits were less than an hour's worth of transactions. Chen Zhao also asked a designer to design 2 outfits for Portia. Chen Zhao and Zola went to the office to drink coffee. Chen, I really don't understand why you suddenly want to adopt children. It's not me. It's Fei Lai who wants more children. Then she can have them herself. She can't. There's something wrong with her body. Then little Larissa, she didn't get pregnant through normal means. Chen Zhao didn't say it clearly. Zola would fill in the blanks herself. To be honest, Zola said emotionally. I really admire your courage. After all, they had adopted 8 children and 2 of their own. That was 10 children. As someone who had been through it, Zola knew how difficult it was. It wasn't a monetary investment. Both she and Chen Zhao had enough money. Not to mention raising 10 children, even if it was 100 children, they could still afford it. What they really paid was emotional investment and handling chores. The older children were rebellious while the younger ones were dependent. Chen Zhao didn't dare to say that he could raise them all into talents. However, he was confident that he wouldn't turn them into naughty children. It was already evening when Chen Zhao returned home. Portia realized that there was no one in the house. But dinner was ready. Portia was completely speechless. As expected, this place was haunted. Fei Lai started eating as soon as she came back. A few girls surrounded Fei Lai and chatted with her. Chen Zhao brought the boy to play on the beach. Other than Chen Zhao, there were only 11-year-old Kilo and 7-year-old Binance in the house. Kilo was a bit cowardly and introverted. Binance was like a kid and was very active. Kilo, what element are you in? Uncle, I'm strength enhancing, Kilo answered with his head lowered. Chen Zhao was speechless at Kilo's magic. Usually, spiritualists with strength-enhancing spells were very outgoing. Even Chen Zhao, who was usually cheerful, was actually a hot-tempered person. However, Kilo was actually a strength-enhancing element despite his introverted personality. Uncle, I'm elemental water type. Look at my magic. Binance showed Chen Zhao happily. Binance only knew 2 very weak water-type spells. One was Water Ball, and the other was Water Arrow. Impressive. Chen Zhao patted Binance's head. Kilo hesitated for a while and looked up at Chen Zhao. Uncle, you're also strength enhancing, right? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Then can you teach me how to become stronger? Training your body is the most important thing for you. If you want to use your power to the extreme, you must first be able to withstand it. If you can't even withstand your own power, it's useless no matter how strong your magic is. Then how can I become as strong as you, uncle? Both being strength-enhancing, the battle yesterday had left a deep impression on Kilo. He never knew that strength-enhancing spells could be so powerful. Just like I said before, keep training. I'll arrange a training schedule for you tomorrow. Perfect. I'll introduce you to a friend. King Kong, come out, /35_. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 1809. King Kong usually went crazy in Zhuoma National Park. He rarely came back today. The new kids hadn't even seen King Kong yet. Of course, it wasn't just King Kong. They were a family now. Then from now on, he would meet them one after another. For example, the underlings, the three-headed dog, the Hydra, and even Amon. When Kilo and Penance saw King Kong, they were shocked at first. At first, he was shocked, but it quickly turned into a pleasant surprise. He was a child to begin with, and he was also a spiritualist. They were much braver than normal people. This gorilla is also a strength type, Chen Zhao said. You can practice with him. Kilo was still a kid, but if he used magic, his strength would increase to 3 times that of a normal person. So, he wasn't afraid of King Kong at all. He was even eager to try. He wanted to see how strong the gorilla was. However, he was introverted and didn't dare to tell Chen Zhao. King Kong, let little Kilo try. Chen Zhao only let Kilo try. He didn't let King Kong punch. How strong was King Kong? 30 to 40 tons of strength. If he didn't control his strength, Kilo would be gone. Kilo would be gone. As someone who'd been through this, Chen Zhao knew what 30 to 40 tons of strength meant. A human's body structure was stable and could withstand a lot of potential energy. It was about 4 times their body weight. But once the potential energy exceeded 4 times, the human body would be injured. If it exceeded 10 times, the human body would fall apart. If it exceeded 100 times, it would explode. For example, with Chen Zhao's current strength, if he didn't control it and hit a person, the person would turn into mist. Kilo walked up confidently and punched King Kong's stomach. In the end, King Kong's skin didn't even sink in, let alone injure him. After playing on the beach for a while, Chen Zhao brought Kilo and Penance back up. At night, Chen Zhao hugged Fei Lai to sleep. Fei Lai couldn't sleep. Chen, what about their studies? We can't just send them to school, right? Let them take a semester off, Chen Zhao said. Next semester, send them to school in Mountain Town. It's close to Mirror Lake and we're familiar with Mountain Town. If anything happens, we'll know immediately and solve it. Fei Lai thought for a moment and nodded. That's good too. Chen, can you do it alone? No problem. Even if he was tired, he still had Portia and Xianli to share the burden. Chen Zhao didn't feel like he was dying. Other than the occasional mental fatigue, there were no other problems. The next day, Portia came with a tired expression. The only thing that could make up for her exhaustion was Chen Zhao's raise. Her weekly salary had been $2,500, but Chen Zhao increased it to $3,500. Her salary was indeed very high. It could even be said that she was now a high-income person. Moreover, this was the after-tax income. However, whenever Portia thought of the huge debt she owed, she felt stifled. Just for those luxuries that she had only used a few times. How could he have been so crazy back then? Chen Zhao must have drugged her. No matter what, I can't go on a shopping spree like that again. Just then, his phone rang. It was West calling. Guild leader, we've already returned to the headquarters. Oh, did you take the plane for the whole night? Then I'll go there later. Chen Zhao planned to give them time to rest. After all, they must be very tired after taking the plane for the whole night. I'm meeting with Wenk Sieg at 3 in the afternoon. Okay, I'll be there before 3. After hanging up, Chen Zhao looked at Portia. Portia, help me buy an MPV. Oh, go. Now. What do you think? How much? Less than $200,000. I need a lot of space and safety. Okay, Portia was speechless at Chen Zhao's intermittent impatience. However, she was also envious of Chen Zhao's wealth. He didn't need to think much about buying a car. $200,000 was already a super luxury car. It was the same even for an MPV. Portia could roughly understand Chen Zhao's needs. Chen Zhao definitely didn't want to drive an RV every time he took a kid out. That RV was indeed too flashy. "Boss, where are you going today?" "The company." "The place last time?" "Yes." Chen Zhao nodded. "You don't need to go." "Oh, help me get a few computers and a few tablets in the afternoon." "Got it, boss." Damn capitalists, Portia thought to herself. Portia's work efficiency was very high. In just 2 hours, she drove the new car back. The Mercedes-Benz X211 MPV had a huge interior and could seat 12 people. It also had the same anti-collision level as a school bus. All the performance parameters indicated that it was expensive. The cost plus the various fees had exceeded Chen Zhao's original limit. However, Chen Zhao didn't blame Portia. After lunch, Chen Zhao called the kids into the car. Chen Zhao planned to take them to the supernatural organization. They were spiritualists anyway, so it didn't matter if they found out about the organization's secret. The 2 SUVs were very stable. Chen Zhao had never driven such a stable car before, apart from the lowly supercars. When they arrived at the headquarters, Adus, who was guarding the door, found it strange. He had never seen a car before, so he stopped Chen Zhao's car outside. Only when Chen Zhao rolled down the window did Adus realize that Chen Zhao had come. After parking the car, Chen Zhao brought the kids into the headquarters. President West was in the hall. When he saw Chen Zhao bring the kids in, he was stunned. "They are my kids. I just adopted them," Chen Zhao said. West was surprised, but he didn't ask. "You can move around freely, but don't go to places with obvious danger signs." The headquarters wasn't very big, but there were still some dangerous areas. For example, dungeons, evil spirit dens, or places where demons slept. These places were all dangerous. Of course, there was also Chen Zhao's electric shock lab. It was also the most dangerous place. "Tell me, what happened in the Norwegian forest this time?" West didn't hide anything. Then, he began to talk about their encounter. No, they hadn't encountered any dangerous battles at all. When Chen Zhao heard that the giants would appear in lightning, he couldn't help but be surprised. /35_ 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 18:10. It's some kind of image, West said. It should be a remnant from the past. It witnesses the true giant's existence at a certain time, but it only appears at the moment of lightning. Chen Zhao and West stood by the window and watched the children running outside. To these children, everything here was very novel. Of course, they were spiritualists, so they didn't find it unacceptable. Just then, a sports car drove in. Wenk Sieg was here. Chen Zhao and West walked out of the headquarters to welcome her. "Ms. Wenk." "Mr. Chen, hello." "Mr. West, hello." West handed a heroic spirit notebook to Wenk Sieg. "Ms. Wenk, this is the Scarlet Mission, the Nordic Giants battle record." "Thank you." Wenk Sieg was very satisfied. She didn't care about the difficulty of the mission. She only needed the results. The supernatural organization didn't disappoint her. "Which one will you choose for the second Scarlet Mission?" Wenk Sieg asked. "I'm still considering," Chen Zhao said perfunctorily. The first 3 missions were the Rock of Slaughter, the Nordic Giant, and the North Sea Monster. Now, the Rock of Slaughter mission was completely useless and the North Sea Monster had been taken. They'd only completed the Nordic Giant mission. So, they had to choose the remaining 2 missions again. But to Wenk Sieg, completing 1 Scarlet mission in 2 months was already very satisfying. She could answer to the Hunters Guild. At the same time, her teacher would have an explanation. Of course, this also made her more confident in the supernatural organization. By the way, does the Hunters Guild accept intelligence missions? Chen Zhao asked. Intelligence. We don't accept such missions, but I can ask someone for you, Wang Xig said readily. As an organization that had existed for 200 or 300 years, they obviously had their own intelligence network. It wasn't just limited to North America, but the entire world. This was something the supernatural organization couldn't even catch up to. The supernatural organization was very powerful. But like most supernatural organizations, they rose quickly, but it was hard to say if they could last for 2 generations. Building a complete intelligence organization wasn't something the supernatural organization could afford right now. Most of the information that the supernatural organization could get now was from Los Angeles. The ability to obtain information beyond this range was very weak. The information he had was obtained from other people or organizations. Otherwise, they would have to spend money to buy it. Basically, they could only get second-hand or even third-hand information. Of course, in most cases, these sources of information were basically enough. After all, the supernatural organization was a regional organization. Nor did he have any thoughts of maintaining world peace. Furthermore, the investment required to establish a complete intelligence department was simply too great. This wasn't something that could be done with a few $100,000 or even a few $1 million. Think about it. The American government invests billions of dollars every year in order to gather intelligence from all over the world. In the past few decades, hundreds of billions of dollars had been spent to maintain this intelligence system. From this point alone, it should be known that intelligence was not something that ordinary people could play with. Mr. Chen, what information do you want? All the information about the Roma Akuk family. Wang Xig looked surprised. What? Do you know the Roma Akuk family? How could I not know? Wang Xig smiled bitterly. In the past year, there's only one person left in the Akuk family. You can say that he caused a huge commotion in the entire spiritual world. Only one person left. Chen Zhao couldn't help but be confused. He looked at Wang Xig. There's only one person left in the Akuk family. Yes, Warren Akuk. He's ranked 8th on the top 10 wanted criminals in the spiritual world. Wang Xig said with a bitter smile, in the past year, he killed more than 300 people. Most of them were spiritualists, and they were all Roma. The whole world is after him now. Wang Xig looked at Chen Zhao. Mr. Chen, do you have a grudge against him? I guess we're mortal enemies now, Chen Zhao said with a shrug. Wang Xig looked at Chen Zhao in confusion. Chen Zhao's tone was rather relaxed. There was no hatred or anger on his face either. However, he said it as if it was only natural. I'll do my best to help you investigate this Warren Akuk, Wang Xig said. West had guessed a little. The children Chen Zhao had brought were clearly Roma. Warren Akuk also had a huge grudge against the Roma. So, the children's relatives must have been killed by Warren Akuk. So, Chen Zhao would naturally bear this grudge. Xan Li Xing suddenly regretted letting Chen Zhao and Fei Lai adopt her. Little Jerlin and little Larissa were 2 complete little devils. Especially little Larissa, who was the youngest. Sis. Little Larissa tugged at Xan Li Xing's hair. Jerlin, on the other hand, was running around in the headquarters. Just then, a girl about her age came over. Risa walked over with her hands in her pockets, studying Xan Li Xing up and down. You're the president's adopted daughter. Risa's tone was somewhat provocative. Xan Li Xing looked at Risa. You are. I'm the president's subordinate, Risa said, extending her hand. Let's get to know each other. I'm Risa. Xianli had just extended her hand when she suddenly felt a chill. Her arm was almost frozen. Xianli Singh hurriedly stepped back. "What are you doing?" Risa snickered. "Nothing. I just want to tell you that you're very weak." Xianli Singh stared at Risa angrily. "Are you going to fight me?" Risa lifted her right arm and pointed to the left. Suddenly, a powerful current shot out from her palm. A hole appeared in a tree with a diameter of 70 to 80 centimeters a dozen meters away. Xianli Singh was shocked. The girl seemed to be 1 or 2 years younger than her, but her magic was so powerful. Suddenly, Risa felt a chill behind her. Looking back, she realized that Chen Zhao was already standing behind her. "Ah. Hi, President. Are you bullying Xianli?" "No way." Risa hurriedly waved her hands. "I'm just showing her my magic." Chen Zhao looked up at Xianli Singh. Xianli hesitated for a moment and then shook her head. "No, she didn't bully me. She was a proud person. She didn't need someone to back her up right now. /35_. Divine Emperor of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 1811. On a small island in the Atlantic Ocean. The people of this island lived a secluded life. But now, this island was engulfed in flames under the night sky. Death spread amidst the blood and flames. The Edith residential district had completely fallen. The Edith family was the most populous family among the Roma people. Inside the raging flames, Warren Akuk stood in the middle with both arms raised, chanting an incantation that was hard to understand. In front of Walloon was a corpse. The chest of the corpse was embedded with several pillar-shaped crystals. As he chanted the last part of the incantation, a mass of black smoke spread out from the flames around him. Then, the black smoke surged into the corpse in front of Warren. The crystals on the corpse's chest became darker and darker, finally turning completely black. "Southern Pillar King, welcome back to the world." The corpse moved a bit, the fatal wounds on its body also quickly healed. He stood up. Warren knelt on one knee. "Southern Pillar King, sir, I am Warren Akuk, your humble servant." The Southern Pillar King was admiring his own body, ignoring Warren's actions. "Akuk. You are the descendant of the Middle King." "Yes, Southern Pillar King, sir." "5 kings, how many have you awakened?" the Southern Pillar King asked. "You are the third," Walloon said respectfully. "Oh. Who are the first 2? The Southern Pillar King looked at Warren and asked. "It's me." Within the flickering flames, 2 figures slowly walked over, a man and a woman. The woman had a head of red hair and a slender body. There was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Her attire was extremely simple, just a loose shirt paired with a pair of tight jeans, and a pair of sunglasses hanging in front of her chest. She looked like an ordinary fashionable beauty. The other person had his hands behind his back, looking rather old with a head full of silver hair. He was half a body length shorter than the woman next to him. His gaze was dim and lifeless, as if he was an old man with one foot in the grave. "Sean! Beyond," the Southern Pillar King's eyes glowed. The red-haired woman was the Eastern Endless Pillar King, Sean. The other old man was the Northern Shadow Pillar King, Bayan. "Zoran, I trust you have been well since we last met." Sean's face was as beautiful as a peach blossom. Byron nodded slightly towards Zoran and greeted him coldly. Walloon stood aside obediently. He was facing the legendary creator of the Roma, 3 of the 5 great gods. At the same time, they were also the ancestors of the 5 great Roma families, Akuk, Singus, Edith, Vaiku, and Pomes. "What are your requirements for waking me up?" Zoran asked. Byron and Sean also looked at Warren. They also didn't know what Warren's goal was. Fight for him. Every single one of them possessed unparalleled magical power. Moreover, they did not coexist harmoniously. If 3 of them were summoned, it was very likely that they would fight amongst themselves. Instead, its functions were weakened. Walloon lowered his head humbly and looked at the 3D Pillar King calmly. 3 Pillar Kings, the current Roma people have already forgotten their traditions, your greatness, and our glory. Therefore, this lowly servant has no other requirements. Please restore the glory of the Roma people, Walloon said respectfully. I don't know what tradition or glory. Just tell me your requirements. Power, wealth, or women. Please awaken our king, the great Pillar King Quemelas, Walloon said. Do you know what needs to be done to awaken the great Pillar King Quemelas? Zoran looked at Walloon with a serious expression. Yes, I do, Walloon nodded. Warren nodded. We need the 4 Pillar Monarchs to appear. At the same time, we need the 4 of you to work together. Without your cooperation, we won't be able to awaken the Great Pillar Monarch, His Majesty Quemelas. At the same time, I need a vessel. Sean stared at Walloon. Has your Akuk family's vessel been prepared? Yes, I am that vessel. Warren opened his shirt, and the 3 Pillar Kings saw that Warren's chest was pierced by a few crystals. The 3 Pillar Kings frowned. Sean said, you should know that as a vessel, your consciousness will be erased. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm the only one left in the Akuk family, and for the sake of my family's unfulfilled wish, I have no regrets. All right, you are our awakener. We will fulfill one of your wishes before the vessel is destroyed. This is a fair trade. We have no other choice, Zoran said. However, you still have to awaken the Western Pillar King, Erewhon. I've already made the preparations. I've also scouted out the Vrykul family's residential area. Zoran looked around. He was currently in a strange mood. Because the Edith family was his kin, his descendants. But now, they had to die to awaken him. But he was awakened by the slayer of his kin. But even he couldn't go against Walloon who awakened him. Walloon could ask him to do anything, anything at all. Of course, there was only one thing. The Romani people were all about fair trade. Even he couldn't go against the principle of trade. If there was anyone who could go against the principle of trade, it would be the Great Pillar King Quemelas. Because he was the one who made the rules of trade. The Great Pillar King Quemelas was also their master. The 4 Pillar Kings were Quemelas's 4 vice-kings. According to the legends, they created the world and were the creators of the world. In reality, they didn't create anything. They weren't even the first generation of Roma people. However, there were no more Roma who were stronger than them before or after them. They used their power to rule over the Roma people and each created 5 major Roma clans, all of which survive to this day. Naturally, Walloon didn't kill all the clans of the 3 Pillar Kings. The ones he killed were the blood relatives of the 3 clans, the awakened ones. There were even more Roma people who hadn't awakened who didn't live in the residential area. Walloon left with the 3 Pillar Kings. At that moment, Sean walked up to Walloon. Her slender figure was even taller than Sean. She leaned down and whispered into Walloon's ear. Walloon, what is your real plan? Won't you tell me? Sean's tone was filled with temptation. Walloon calmly looked at Sean. Great Eastern Pillar King, my goal has been revealed. I didn't hide anything. I want to resurrect the Great Pillar King Quemelas. Hihi, don't lie to me, I can see the ambition in your eyes, Sean said with a smile. My ambition is to bring back the glory of the Roma people, is that true? Of course, Walloon nodded and said with a serious tone. Then do you dare to let me conduct a soul interrogation on you? Yes, as long as my ancestors' dream is fulfilled, I am willing to hand over my soul to Great Eastern Pillar King. Chapter 1812. Daily Moore noticed that Nawat Singh's face had turned extremely ugly after the call. Knots, what happened? That Warren, that damn Warren, he slaughtered another family settlement, the Pomies family, Knott said. Nawat said, and they also stole the Pomies family's divine artifact. Warren attacked you and the Singer family settlement and stole the earring called Mend. Now, he attacked the Pomies family and stole their divine gear. Does that mean that Warren's targets are the families that possess divine gear? Daily Moore asked. That's right. What other families have artifacts? Daily Moore asked. The Edith family and the Vrykle family, Knott said. Do you know where they live? Daily Moore asked. I know the Edith family. They live on an island in the Atlantic. I know them and have been to their settlement before, Knott said. But I don't know anyone from the Vrykle family. They also live in seclusion and rarely have contact with the outside world. There is also the Cook family where Warren is from. But since Warren is from the Cook family, then the artifact of the Cook family must have fallen into his hands. What's the origin of these artifacts? What's their use? Actually, the 5 artifacts were made by the Cook family. What? The 5 artifacts belong to the Cook family. No, they're just contractors, Knott said. Actually, the materials needed for the 5 divine artifacts were shared by the 5 families. So, when the divine artifacts were created, each family received one. Nawat Singh said. Knott paused and said, the origin of the 5 artifacts is very ancient, more than 2,000 years old. After the 5 Pillar Kings disappeared, the Roma lost their protection. At that time, the Roma had their own religion, so they wouldn't believe in other religions. So, they were naturally regarded as heretics. Then, they were constantly hunted and slaughtered. In order to stabilize the people, after a discussion, the 5 families jointly made 5 artifacts to protect the entire race. The 5 artifacts are Mend, Guidance, Fearless, Holy Spirit, and Order. So, what are the specific uses of these 5 artifacts? Daily Moore asked. In my hands, Mend was used to extend the duration of continuous magic, Knott said. The more powerful the person using Mend, the more powerful the effect. The artifact of the Edith family is Fearless, which can be immune to all curses and mind magic. Of course, this is what I know. I don't know the effects of Guidance, Holy Spirit, and Order. I only know that Guidance is in the hands of the Pomies family, Holy Spirit is in the hands of the Vrykle family, and Order is in the hands of the Cook family. So, Warren's current goal is the artifacts in the hands of the Edith family and the Vrykle family. Aha, Nawat nodded. But he felt something was wrong. The ancestor of Mend had taken away from his hands. But Warren still attacked the settlement of the Singh family. If it was just for the artifacts of the families, he didn't seem to need to do so. Don't you know the people of the Edith family? Inform them now, at least let them be prepared, so that the Edith family is not defenseless. Yes. Knott nodded and immediately called the friend of the Edith family. Hello, Knott, what's up? Do you know about the Pomies family? Pomies family? What happened to their family? Pomies asked in confusion. The Pomies family settlement was slaughtered by the madman of the Cook family. Not only the Pomies family, but even the Singh family settlement was slaughtered. I was also attacked and Mend was taken away by him. What? When did that happen? Edith was shocked. Just a few days ago. Nawat said solemnly, you better send a message to your family. Walloon's target is likely the divine artifact of the 5 families. His next target is likely to be your Edith family or Vrykle family. I understand. I'll call the family right now. Edith hung up and called the family leader. But after waiting for a long time, the call didn't go through. The phone kept dialing. Edith's heart became heavy. She changed to another family member's number. But the call still didn't go through. She changed to another one, but the result was still the same. No one answered. This made Edith have a bad premonition. Edith suddenly realized that there was a piece of news on TV. The news that was being broadcasted was about Edith Island. When the International Ocean Research Ship passed by the Edith Island, they found that the island was on fire, so they landed on the island. They found that the residents of the island were slaughtered. No one survived. Strange symbols were left at the scene, like some kind of cult symbol or ritual. Edith sat on the ground. Her whole body seemed to be drained of energy. Warren! Warren! Edith roared. Not Singh's report was too late. The Edith family had already been attacked and destroyed. It was different from Not Singh. Nawat Singh had no relatives in the Singh family settlement. At least, there were no close relatives. But Edith still had a lot of family on the island. His father, his brother, his grandmother, and his grandfather. At this moment, Nawat Singh called again. You. Did you see the news on the TV? Why did you only inform me now? Why didn't you inform me earlier? Edith roared uncontrollably. Not Singh was silent. This was indeed her dereliction of duty. She hadn't thought of Warren's plan beforehand. She only thought of this possibility when the Pomis family suffered the same fate. Do you know where the Vrackle family settlement is? Warren's target is probably the Vrackle family. Edith was silent for a moment. Then he said, in Minneapolis. Suddenly, Edith remembered. I'm going to kill Warren. I'm going to kill him. Chapter 1813. Shinley, hurry up and help. Don't play with your phone, Portia shrieked. Boss, they're your kids. You should take responsibility. What could Chinzhao do? He had two big demons, little Jerlin and little Larissa, in his arms. 4 dog leashes hung on his body. He was holding Sindora, Mara, Coilage, and Binance. Apart from little Jerlin and little Larissa, the 4 of them were the youngest of the 4. Other than Binance, the other 3 were all girls. But their mischievous personalities were no less than boys. Chen Zhao's expression was lifeless. Xanli held her phone and looked left and right in the airport. Uncle, over there. Xanli had already seen Nawat Singh's figure. Don't run anymore, or I'll get angry, Portia shouted. Sister Nawats, we're here, Shinli shouted, raising her hands. Not Singh and Edith also saw them. Narrowed her eyes and looked at Chinzhao's group. Portia was clearly an ordinary person. Chinzhao had an unusual aura, but it was too weak. It didn't feel very strong. Also, what's with the kids? The person actually had 2 kids in his arms. Is he a babysitter? Why did he bring the kids here? Chen, you're here. Nawats walked up to Chinzhao. Why did you bring the kids? I had no choice. There's no one at home to take care of them, so I could only bring them. Chinzhao shrugged. They shouldn't come, Nawats said. There's no shouldn't. Chinzhao put little Larissa into Nawat's arms. Do me a favor. Nawats looked at the time bomb in her arms, her expression very awkward. Change little Larissa's diaper. Ha! Me? I don't know how. Learn. You'll need it in the future. Chinzhao glanced at Aim beside him. Are you Nawat's boyfriend? No, I'm Edith, from the Edith family. On the surface, Edith was still polite. But when he looked at Nawat Singh from the corner of his eyes, he was already furious. What kind of people were they? Is this the helper Nawat Singh found? She couldn't have pulled it from the streets, could she? Boss, I want a raise. Otherwise, I'll quit. Portia complained. If you talk about a raise again, I'll deduct your salary. Chen Zhao pulled little Glinsaporia into his arms. Uncle, I want to drink Coke. Looking at Chen Zhao, Binance tugged at Chen Zhao's shirt. Chen Zhao searched around and found a credit card. Do you know how to use it? Binance shook his head. Chen Zhao searched again. He didn't seem to have any cash on him. Portia, do you have any cash? No. Then go buy a few cans of Coke. Boss, you're empty-handed now, you want me to buy it? Boss, you're empty-handed, do you pay my salary, or do I pay yours? Portia's cheeks twitched. I'll go. Looking at Chen Zhao, Ames whispered to Nawat Singh, I want to kill him. Can I? Air. Nawat rubbed his forehead. I want to kill him too. The plane arrived. Everyone finally boarded successfully. Target, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Although Minneapolis wasn't well known, it was considered a big city in the United States. It had a population of 400,000 and a GDP of $200 billion. However, the kids were still making noise after boarding the plane. Chen Zhao really had a headache. Apart from Shinli Singh, he cast Banshee's charm on all the other kids. At some point, the entire cabin quieted down. Boss, you know hypnosis. Portia looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. Chen Zhao walked to the kids and snapped his fingers. Then, they all fell asleep. I'm a doctor, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Edith had been paying attention to Chen Zhao. When he saw Chen Zhao use Banshee's charm, he couldn't help but frown. Is he a spiritual spiritualist? Spiritual spiritualists had always been criticized for their combat abilities. Their spells were quite effective against normal people. But against people with stronger wills, the effect would start to weaken. Against spiritualists, the effect would be even worse. The stronger the spiritualist's magic was, the worse the effect would be. As long as one had 1/3 of the spellcaster's magic, the spiritualist's spells would have a hard time being effective. Of course, it wasn't completely useless. It could only be said that hypnosis spells would be much less effective. On the other hand, some mental stimulation and mental curses were still effective. For example, mental whip could disturb the enemy in battle. They arrived at the Minneapolis International Airport. Everyone was carrying 2 children, even Shinli Singh. The kids were too sleepy. They went to the hotel first. Everyone was a bit tired. Ames didn't seem to be in a hurry to go to the Vrikal family's residence. Ames, where's the Vrikal family's residence? Ames glanced at Chen Zhao. After some hesitation, he said, St. Anthony Waterfall. Aren't we going today? No, we can't today, Ames said. Edith said, the Vrikal family hid their settlement in the waterfall and cast magic. There are only 2 ways to find the entrance. One is to open it from the inside, and the other is that the entrance only opens once on the 15th night of every month, and it only opens for an hour. Is there a difference between opening it every day and once a month? Chen Zhao pursed his lips. If it really attracts enemies, they won't be 1 or 2 days late. They sealed the entrance, but that doesn't mean they can't receive information from the outside, Ames said. The Vrikal family's people in the residence must know that Warren is going to harm them, so they'll definitely be prepared. They'll also look for reinforcements. Warren will also return in failure this time. Whatever, Nawat Singh said. Tomorrow is the 15th, in the Vrikal residence a figure swayed at the exit. Maggie, what are you doing at the exit? Maggie Vrykle turned to look at the person behind her. Geraldine, why are you here? Geraldine Vrykle and Maggie Vrykle stared at each other in silence. Suddenly, Maggie Vrykle raised an eyebrow. You're with him too. /35_. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1814. Not long after, Maggie Vrykle and Geraldine Vrykle stood in front of a stone array formed by dozens of stone pillars. Maggie Vrykle glanced at Geraldine Vrykle. I didn't expect you to be Warren's man. You too. I didn't expect it either, Geraldine Vrykle said indifferently. Maggie Vrykle was the daughter of the patriarch, but she betrayed the Vrykle group. Because he can fulfill everyone's wish, Maggie Vrykle said matter-of-factly. What wish did you make to him? Geraldine Vrykle didn't speak. She looked at the stone array and asked, how do I remove the space displacement? You can't remove the space displacement. Otherwise, this place will be directly connected to the outside world and exposed to the public. By then, even Warren won't be able to do anything, Maggie Vrykle said. If you don't remove the space displacement, then what do? It's very simple. Move that stone pillar to that position, then move that stone pillar to this side. That's strange. This isn't a Western magic array, right? This is China's feng shui. Guide the wind. Maggie Vrykle said, Orion as the chess piece, Big Dipper as the general, Dragon Mountain, Ziwei as the command. What are you muttering? Don't interrupt me. Do as I say. Move that stone here. This is to change the array so that one can only enter but not leave. Geraldine Vrykle silently followed Maggie Vrykle's instructions. At this moment, a hole appeared at the other end of the stone array. You can come in, Mr. Warren. Maggie Vrykle said with her phone in her hand. From the hole, a few figures appeared. Warren, Zoran, Sean and Bion walked in from outside the hole. Sean looked at the stone array in front of him and said in surprise, It's amazing. There was no such magic array in the past. What system of magic is this? Sir Sean, this is an Eastern magic array. It's a completely different system from Western magic, Warren said. At this moment, Maggie Vrykle and Geraldine Vrykle walked over. Mr. Warren, I've done what I asked. Now it's time to keep my promise, Maggie Vrykle said. Killing your father, that's all. Warren asked. Yes. Sure. Warren nodded. This was not a difficult task, and he had originally intended to do so. Where is it? It's in his hands too. Geraldine Vick was a little surprised. Maggie Vicker's wish was to kill the chief. He was her father. He didn't understand what kind of grudge the father and daughter had. So much so that Maggie Vick would rather collude with outsiders, even if it meant risking the annihilation of his entire clan. He wanted his father to die. Geraldine, what is your wish? Warren asked. Of course, a trade had to be fair. Warren also had to abide by the rules of the trade. He really wanted to learn from the villains in the movies. After achieving his goal, he directly killed the person. But he couldn't do that. Of course, he couldn't accept anything that Warren couldn't do. Revive my sister. Warren closed his eyes and thought for a while. I can't do it. You just can't do it now, Geraldine Vick said. Warren frowned slightly. He seemed to know something. Even if I succeed, I can't do it, Warren said. No one can revive the dead. You just need to summon my sister's soul back after the plan is completed, Geraldine Vick said. Where did your sister's soul go? Hell. How did she die? She didn't die. I have kept her body intact. She violated the clan rules, so her soul was sent to hell. I see. Warren nodded. If his plan really succeeded, then he could indeed summon his sister's soul out of hell. The premise was that his sister's soul was still intact. Are they your men? Maji Vicar asked. No, they are God, the great pillar king of our Roma people, Warren said indifferently. Geraldine Vick looked at Sean, Byron and Zoran. His eyes flickered. He kept staring at the three as if he wanted to use all his strength to pierce through them. If there was anyone in this world who could know Warren's plan, it was him. Geraldine Vraiku even guessed the details of Walloon's plan. Are they the legendary Pillar King? Maji Viku looked at Walloon as if he was a lunatic. Pillar King. Let's not talk about whether the legend was true. Even if the Pillar King really existed, it was more than 2,000 years ago. Maji Vik didn't believe that the legendary Pillar King would really appear. 3 sirs, you can start. Warren looked at the 3 Pillar Kings. Sorry for troubling you. At this moment, the Vicar family's residential area was silent. The silence was frightening. There wasn't even a sound of insects. Let me do it. At this moment, Shane walked out with a ball of string in her hand. Sean suddenly threw the ball of string out. The ball of string flew into the air and the end of the string suddenly shot into the darkness. Sean took out the same ball of string and repeated the same trick. Then, Sean took out the third, the fifth. These strings traveled in the darkness and rushed into the residential area in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, the rope that had been released from a small ball of string had wrapped itself tightly around the house. In the end, Sean gave it a tug. The entire house and the owner inside were instantly killed. At the same time, the entire residential area suddenly sounded an alarm. Not good, someone entered here. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. The vicars in the residential area were instantly like ants on a hot pan. The 5 balls of string that Sean threw were obviously not ordinary strings. Each ball of string and string had a different color. The red string was burning with flames. The silver-white string was like frost. The white string was electrified. The black string was poisonous. All the strings crisscrossed and covered the entire residential area. These crisscrossed strings were more like a nest. Whether it was an adult or a child, whether it was a man or a woman. But in front of Sean, he seemed so weak and fragile. Sean was the first to be awakened, but it was the first time Warren saw Sean in action. It wasn't shocking, and it wasn't colorful either. But Sean's magic was filled with endless killing intent. What kind of magic is this? Geraldine asked, puzzled. It's a familiar. Sir Sean is an awakened, Warren said. Among the 5 Pillar Kings, 3 were magic awakened and 2 were bloodline awakened. Sean's magic was purely to control objects. Chapter 1815. Sean, you're too slow. Bayan walked out. His movements were slow as if he was an old man past his prime. But with every step he took, his appearance became younger. With every step he took, his body grew bigger. When he reached Sean's side, he had changed a lot. He was no longer a decaying old man, but a strong young man. Bayan's body emitted a strong aura as his palms began to accumulate and compress magic. Everyone was shocked when they saw Bayan's movement. Everyone felt like they were facing a walking nuclear bomb. Bayan's movement was very similar to the Kamehameha in the manga. Ha! Bayan's palms suddenly pushed forward. Just like the Kamehameha, a white light retreated from Bayan's palms. Rumble! The entire residential area was razed to the ground, leaving a shocking crater in the center of the residential area. It was as if it was hit by a missile. Maudie Vicar and Geraldine Vicar, who were standing at the back, almost lost their balance. Their faces were filled with horror and disbelief. Whether it was Sean or Byron, both of them were so terrifying and unbelievable. Sean alone could slaughter the entire Vicar family's residential area. After all, there were more than 300 people here. Every single one of them, regardless of gender or age, was a spiritualist. But when faced with Sean, they were helpless. Byron was even more terrifying. Just one move. One move and he razed this place to the ground. Byron, using magic like this will only shorten your existence, Zoran said. It doesn't matter, this awakening isn't in my plan anyway. Byron's body gradually shrunk and returned to his old man appearance. Warren glanced at Byron from the corner of his eyes and walked into the ruins. Just then, a figure rushed out from the ruins. Maudie Vicar's father, Wilson Vicar. Wilson Vicar's body was covered in a thin layer of light. The light was like a burning flame. I'm going to kill you. Wilson Vicar roared. Warren didn't seem surprised when he saw Wilson Vicar. Titan's power. Warren took a deep breath, and his body instantly became powerful. Warren punched Wilson Vicar in the face. Wilson Vicar was thrown several meters away, but he stood up unscathed. Viper's whip. Warren's arm suddenly stretched out like a long whip, lashing heavily on Wilson Vicar's body. The halo on Wilson Vicar's body was almost shattered. But it soon stabilized. Teeth of the hungry wolf. Warren launched another attack before Wilson Vicar could react. A pair of fang-like spikes suddenly shot out from Wilson Vicar's back. "Ah!" Wilson Vicar screamed. However, this wasn't the end for him. Warren's next round of attacks had already arrived. Bind of Thorns. A thorny vine drilled out from the ground under Wilson Vicar's feet and bound him tightly. Wilson Vicar was already panicking. Walloon's attacks were too sharp, and it felt like he knew every move Kieran was about to make. All the attacks were aimed at his weak points, and they were a step ahead of him. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. Wilson Vicar wanted to struggle, but his body was fixed by the thorny vine, so he couldn't activate his magic. Warren walked in front of Wilson Vicar. Warren still had a faint smile on his face, and at the same time, he took off the ring on Wilson Vicar's finger. "Is this the Holy Spirit? Give it back to me, you bastard!" Wilson Vicar roared angrily. However, Warren didn't seem to hear Wilson Vicar's roar. He wore the Holy Spirit ring on his finger. He felt the power bestowed by the Holy Spirit ring. "Mr. Wilson, you've let the Holy Spirit ring be covered in dust. You don't even know how to use the Holy Spirit ring. All of you are the same. You've tarnished the name of Ancestor Cook's gift," Warren said as a matter of fact. "Now, I will take back what belongs to our family. This is our Vicar family's. Not yours." Wilson Vicar roared angrily. Warren glanced behind Wilson Vicar. "He's yours." Wilson Vicar was tied up at this moment. He couldn't see behind him. However, he vaguely sensed something. "Maggie? It's you. You damned little bastard." Poochie, Wilson Vicar lowered his head and looked at his pierced chest. His mouth started to vomit blood. "Maggie. You dare." "Yes, I dare." Maggie Vicar pulled out the weapon in her hand and stabbed it again. Wilson Vicar struggled several times before he finally breathed his last. "Miss Maggie, please don't damage your father's body." Warren looked at Maggie Vicar with a smile. Now, their deal was completely completed. Maggie Vicar would also be completely loyal to him. "Yes, Mr. Warren." Maggie Vicar pulled out her sword and silently retreated to the side. At this moment, Geraldine Vicar, Sean, Byron and Zoran walked over. Geraldine Vicker looked at Warren. Warren was laying Wilson Vicker's body on the ground. Then, he stabbed a crystal into Wilson Vicker's chest. "Did you make that soul device?" Geraldine Vicker asked. Warren glanced at Geraldine Vicker. "You also know alchemy magic." Geraldine Vicker continued, "It looks like the product of the combination of Eastern refining and Egyptian soul binding." Warren began to prepare the magic circle and then placed the body in the center of the magic circle. It was the same process as waking up Zoran. Under Warren's magic spell, Wilson Vicker's body suddenly opened its eyes. Maggie Vicker was shocked and immediately pulled out her weapon. "Put away your weapon. He's not your father. He's your ancestor now." "Erewhon, long time no see." Sean took the lead to greet. "Western Pillar King, Erewhon Vicker." Erewhon looked at his body. It was the same as when Zoran woke up. He was familiarizing himself with his body. "Which one of you woke me up?" "It's the kid from the Cook family." Erewhon looked at Warren with his bull head. "Tell me your purpose." "I need you to wake up my ancestor, Great Pillar King Quemelas," Warren said. Erewhon glanced at the other 3 Pillar Kings. He couldn't tell if he was happy or angry. "Seems like you're mentally prepared." "Yes, I'm ready." Warren nodded. "Then, let's do it here. /35_9 Heaven's God King. Chapter 18:16. Warren wore 5 artifacts: Heal, Fearless, Guidance, Order, and Holy Spirit. These 5 artifacts were an earring, a pendant, a bracelet, a mask, and a ring. Sean, Bayan, Zoran, and Erewhon stood in 4 different directions. The magic needed to summon the soul of the Great Pillar King was far beyond what ordinary people could bear. Only when the other 4 Pillar Kings joined forces would they have enough magic to summon the Great Pillar King. The magic of the 4 Pillar Kings was surging. Each of them had a magic that could make people 100 times stronger. "Geraldine, what are they doing?" "Resurrecting our god of creation, Great Pillar King Quemelas," said Geraldine Vrykol. "Resurrection?" Maji Vrykol looked at Geraldine Vrykol in confusion. "Yes, resurrection. But why can he still be resurrected after more than 2,000 years? Is it because the soul of God can't be destroyed?" Maji Vrykol was puzzled. "Let's not talk about whether Quemelas is a god or not. Even if he really is a god, I'm afraid his soul will be destroyed in 2,000 years. Then why, do you know why Quemelas is called the god of creation?" "I don't understand." "Because he really created a world. To be precise, it's a small world, a world that belongs only to him. His plan was perfect, but he overestimated his faith. There were very few souls that were truly qualified to be taken into heaven, causing the heaven he created to be unable to be maintained. Quemelas also died to maintain this heaven. After his death, his soul entered this heaven, but he completely closed the heaven he created, and finally completely sealed his soul in this heaven." Geraldine Vrykol paused and said, "Now, they are summoning Quemelas' soul from heaven, and then using Warren's body as the host, temporarily resurrecting Quemelas." "Host?" "As the host, his soul and consciousness should also be erased, right?" Geraldine Vrykol nodded, "That's right. So the object of my allegiance soon became Camilla's." Hee hee. Geraldine Vrykol smiled and did not answer. "How do you know all this?" Maji Vicker asked in confusion. "These are secrets, and I happen to be the next patriarch's successor," said Geraldine Vrykol. Maji Vicker looked at Geraldine Vicker in surprise. As the daughter of the current patriarch, Maji Vicker knew a lot of things. For example, Geraldine Vick's matter. In order to resurrect his sister, Geraldine Vrykol had been studying alchemy and necromancy. There were also many other systems of magic. As long as it could be of use, he would study it. Of course, research and learning were two different things. However, this also made Geraldine Vyak the most outstanding and knowledgeable person among the younger generation. Among his peers, no one could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Many people in the Vrykol family liked to do research, no matter what aspect it was. The Roma once said of the Vrykol family, a family full of evil and order. In order to carry out all kinds of research, the Vrykol family often had no bottom line. Many taboo research was never taboo in their eyes. Then why did you say it now? Is it still necessary to keep it a secret now? Geraldine Vrykol smiled. The Vrykol family has been destroyed. Both of us are now just stray dogs. What about your sister? Her soul. Her soul entered the heaven created by Camilla's. She is a firm believer of Camilla's. Geraldine Vrykol said, so, as long as Camilla's is resurrected, then he naturally has the ability to bring my sister's soul out. No wonder. Maji Vrykol looked at the center of the field. Those four people are really the four pillar kings. Yes, at least their souls are the four pillar kings. Geraldine Vrykol nodded. Their souls are also in heaven. How did your sister die? Maji Vrykol asked. If you don't want to say, I won't force you. In order to pursue the secret of Camilla's, Geraldine Vrykol said. She is a more fanatical researcher than me. Maji Vrykol could understand this. Most people in the Vrykol family were like this. They would do anything to do research. The reason why Maji Vrykol hated her father. It was because her father had done inhumane, forbidden experiments on her mother. The four pillar kings emitted shocking magic power. This was just the magic power that was dissipated. The amount of magic they consumed was even more shocking. The amount of magic they released in an instant was almost equivalent to all the magic a normal person could release at once. However, their magic recovery speed was also shocking. Even so, their magic power still couldn't keep up with the speed of consumption. What? Little Larissa suddenly burst into tears. Ha! Chen Zhao suddenly opened his eyes. Chen Zhao immediately stood up and comforted little Larissa. In that instant, Chen Zhao felt an aura permeating the air. Surging, powerful, Chen Zhao looked at the time. It was only 1 in the morning. He carried the crying little Larissa out of the room. Just then, Nawat Singh, who lived in the next room, walked out. Then Edith also walked out of the room opposite. The three glanced at each other. Edith's expression was solemn. Scary, too scary. What was with that magic power? Perhaps all the spiritualists in the city had sensed that terrifying magic power. At this moment, the children in the other rooms were also awakened and ran out of their rooms. They were also awakened by the scary magic power. Uncle. What is that? It's too scary. Shinli Singh stared at Chen Zhao in fear. There seems to be something incredible, Chen Zhao said calmly. Something incredible has appeared. Where did it come from? The aura came from the northeast, Chen Zhao said. Northeast. That's where St. Anthony Waterfall is. Edith said seriously. Is it the Vrykol family's residence? Let's go there and take a look, Chen Zhao said. Go there. Now. Something must have happened to the Vrykol family. I just don't know if it's Warren's doing. Chapter 1817. Portia opened the door angrily. Boss. Portia's first voice was very loud. However, when she saw little Larissa in Chen Zhao's arms, she immediately lowered her voice. "Boss, look at the time. What time is it now?" Portia growled at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao shoved little Larissa into Portia's arms. "What? I'll leave little Larissa and Jerlin to you." "Boss." Portia glanced outside. Apart from little Jerlin and Larissa, all the kids were awake. Emu Edith and Navat Singh were also standing outside the door. "Boss, what are you going to do?" "Enjoy the scenery," Chen Zhao answered seriously. "Late at night. You have so many kids. Is there a problem?" Of course there was a problem. Portia stared at Chen Zhao with dead fish eyes. "Boss, are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking?" "I think you're just joking." "Okay, take care of little Jerlin and Larissa for me." "Boss, I think you're making arrangements for your funeral. Do you still want your salary for this month?" Chen Zhao looked at Chen Zhao with a dark expression. "Oh, okay. Boss, have a safe journey," Chen Zhao teased little Larissa, who had fallen asleep again. Little Larissa pursed her lips and waved her short hands, hugging Portia's arms. He glared at Portia viciously before turning around and leaving. Portia walked in front with the kids. Edith and Chen Zhao followed behind. "Why do you have so many kids?" Edith frowned at Chen Zhao. "Revenge," Chen Zhao said. "Revenge? What can they do?" "I'll beat their enemies half to death first and then leave the rest to them. The youngest is only 5 or 6. You want them to kill people?" "Of course not. I don't want them to kill people. They can't kill people anyway. We don't even know how strong our enemies are. You have so many kids with you. They might be affected." Edith still didn't agree with Chen Zhao's method. In his opinion, bringing kids into battle, no matter what their intentions were, it would increase the risk. "No one can hurt my child in front of me," Chen Zhao said indifferently. Suddenly, 3 people appeared at the entrance of the hotel. Chen Zhao recognized one of them. It was Okula Singh, sister of Nawat Singh. But Nards Hingis knew them, Barbara Rush, Dominguez. When Nawat saw the 3 of them, he immediately became vigilant. "Knots, where are you going?" "Move, Okula. I don't want to fight you now." Nawats looked at the 3 coldly. Chen Zhao walked forward. Okula glanced at Chen Zhao. They had met once when Nawat Singh was hospitalized. Back then, Okula thought that Chen Zhao was a doctor. "Knots, do you need me?" "If you can't do it," Chen Zhao asked. "Who do you think you are?" Okula stared at Chen Zhao fiercely. "Chen, it's okay. Thanks." Nawat's shingles stopped him. She didn't want Chen Zhao to fight her sister. She didn't want that to happen. Otherwise, the consequences would be very serious. Okula Singh looked at her sister. "Knots, leave here." Okula looked at her sister seriously. "You don't understand what you're facing. I defeated Warren before. I can still do it now. You don't understand. You don't understand at all. You were able to defeat him last time because his plan hadn't started yet." Okula shook his head and said, "Now, his plan has succeeded." "What plan does he have?" Knots asked. "He revived the 4 Pillar Kings," Okula said. "And he has the power of the Great Pillar Kings." "Knots, give up. You can't defeat Mr. Warren." Barbara was from the same family as them. She also didn't want Knots to take a fearless risk. "Give up. Ask these kids. Will they give up?" They. Okula, Barbara, and Dominguez suddenly realized that the kids before them were actually the juniors of their family. Since they're here, I can't let you take the risk. You're going to die. I know what I'm doing, Knot said. Knots, you really don't need me to do anything. No, Knot said. You guys go first. I'll deal with the three. Oh, Chen, I'll lend you something. Okay. Chen Zhao nodded. Then hurry up and follow us. Edith and Chen Zhao sent the children onto a bus. Edith said worriedly as he drove, "Can Nawats solve the problem alone?" Of course. You should trust her, Chen Zhao said. Ha! She's already back. Thud, Edith suddenly heard something fall from the roof of the car. Just then, Knots jumped down from the top of the bus. Knots? Edith could not understand. He didn't expect Knots to solve the problem so quickly. The three men were obviously not weak, but Nawat's shingles came back so quickly. Chen Zhao remembered that Knots was a perception-type witch. Since when was her combat power so strong? You went too easy, Chen Zhao said. Knots couldn't do anything about it. After all, she was her sister. She didn't understand why Okula, Barbara, and Domingley were willing to be Warren's lackeys. In her eyes, the three of them had never been evil, especially her own sister. So, she couldn't go too hard. She didn't even dare to use Jin form. Chen Zhao looked behind him. There was a car following. Knots, you really went too easy. They're following us. Behind him, Okula's face was filled with shock and anger. Drive faster. We have to stop them. We can't let Warren see them. They'll die. Barbara and Domingley were also worried. After all, the car in front was the last hope of the Singh family. But they knew how terrifying Warren was. Especially Warren now. Even if they weren't beside him, they could still feel his vast magic power. It was a power that made people feel despair. They couldn't even muster the courage to resist. The people in front of them were basically seeking death by going against Warren. They couldn't let them die. Definitely not. Chapter 18:18. Chen Zhao leaned against the window of the bus and looked at Okula Singh, who had caught up to them. Hey, little girl, you should listen to your sister. If you catch up again, I won't go easy on you. In the back seat of the sports car, Barbara had already activated the Fury Witch's spell. A ball of flames shot toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao clapped his hands and the flames exploded in his palm. Barbara stared at Chen Zhao in surprise. Her attack was ineffective. She hadn't used her full strength, but it was still very easy to kill someone. Even if the target was a spiritualist, the power was enough to heavily injure them. Okula, aren't defensive spells a little too common these days? Barbara Rush said, a little annoyed. When she'd encountered Nawats before, her attack had been useless. Now, it was useless against a random man. Chen Zhao looked at the three people in the sports car. I think it's better to kill you now. Just then, a hand pressed down on Chen Zhao's raised arm. Nawats looked at Chen Zhao. Chen, just let them follow. They can't do anything. Fine. Chen Zhao knew that Nawats had softened again. But he could understand. If it was him, facing his family, they would also be as indecisive as Nawats Singh. Finally, with the combined efforts of the four-pillar monarchs, a figure emerged from the center of the magic formation. When they saw the figure in the center, the four-pillar monarchs finally exhaled deeply. They'd finally succeeded. The four-pillar monarchs knelt on the ground. Greetings, Your Majesty. Even though the Roma had never established a country, in the hearts of the four-pillar monarchs, they were loyal to the true king. Whether it was his power, his breadth of mind, or even his knowledge, everything about him was so admirable. Maji Vriku and Geraldine Vriku knelt on the ground too. They looked at their incorporeal bodies, soul forms. Then Kumras looked at Walloon standing before him. Kumras touched his chin and a smile appeared on his face. I can see your past, your future, your ambition, and your dreams. Although I don't like what you do, I still respect you, Quimirus said. Warren knelt on one knee. Greetings, Your Majesty Great Pillar King. Although I know your goal, I don't intend to stop you. Do you want my power? I'll give it to you, all of it. Quimirus suddenly slammed his palm towards Walloon. In an instant, a surging power was injected into Walloon's body. It was a power greater than Warren could imagine. The crystal pillar in front of his chest burst out with a strong light and was almost instantly filled with magic. A wave of energy spread out from Warren's body and continued to spread outwards. Like a shockwave, it spread throughout the entire city. In an instant, the entire city fell into darkness. All the buildings and the lights on the streets had disappeared. It even affected 3 or 4 nearby cities. The impact covered a radius of several hundred kilometers. The pain lasted for several minutes. But to Warren, it felt as long as centuries. However, everything was finally over. Walloon looked at his hands in disbelief. At this moment, Warren felt that the pain just now was nothing. All the hard work was nothing. It was all worth it. He finally got his reward. This power, this godlike power, he couldn't believe it at all. Warren took a deep breath and took off Heal, Holy Spirit, Order, Fearless, and Guidance. Geraldine Vickers' eyes glowed. He's Warren now, or Quimirus. Warren, he's Warren. His gaze hasn't changed, Geraldine Vickers said. Why? Shouldn't his body be occupied by Quimirus? Why hasn't his consciousness and soul been erased? He can't possibly resist Great Pillar King's consciousness. Because of the things in his hands, Geraldine Vickers said. Those are the artifacts of the 5 families, right? Maji Vicker asked. Yes, they're all made by the Cook family. Those things, can they prevent Warren from losing control of his body to Quimirus? Fearless, it's immune to all fear and also immune to all mind control. Order, it's an artifact that maintains one's self, undisturbed by outsiders, guidance, and gives the most powerful protection to the soul. Holy Spirit strengthens all attributes of self. Geraldine Vickers said, there's also Heal, which doubles the power of the other 4 artifacts. So this is the reason why he took the 4 artifacts. To take Quimirus' power but not be controlled by Quimirus. Although Walloon had calculated everything, he didn't expect that even though Quemilas was in soul form, he still couldn't be manipulated by Walloon. But, he still succeeded. Quimirus' power was taken by him. No, Quimirus gave it to him. He didn't take it. At this moment, the 5 artifacts floated in front of Warren. Warren began to unleash unparalleled power. It was so powerful that it was shocking. Even Walloon himself was astonished. However, such a powerful force did not seem to be able to dry up. Great, this is the power. It's fascinating power. Under Warren's powerful power, the 5 artifacts began to gradually merge. What is he doing? Is he destroying the 5 artifacts? No, on the contrary, he's showing the true face of the artifacts, Geraldine Vickers said. True face? I don't understand. Your father once studied the artifact Holy Spirit in his hand. Geraldine Vickers' eyes lit up. He found that the Holy Spirit is actually incomplete. But the Holy Spirit has never been damaged since it appeared. How could it be damaged? So there's only one possibility. It's not that the master of a certain era destroyed the artifact, but the artifact has always been incomplete since it was created. The original purpose of the Cook family creating the 5 artifacts was to combine them into one. Maybe, since 2000 years ago, the Cook family has been waiting for this opportunity, Maji Vickers said. I really can't believe it. After waiting for 2,000 years for a huge plan to seize the power of a god, this plan has finally been completed in Warren's hands. He has the power of a god, and at the same time, he has a true divine artifact. No one in this world can defeat him. The 5 artifacts turned into a near-perfect golden armor and automatically put it on Warren's body /35_. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 1819. A halo appeared behind Walloon's head. Right now, he looked like a real god. No, not like. He was a god. Walloon exhaled the turbid air in his body. Brick looked at Sean, Bayan, Zoran, and Erewhon. You already know my real goal and you've completed the deal. Are you going to leave now? Or are you going to stop me? Walloon would not underestimate the 4 Pillar Kings. However, he was not afraid of them either. He was stronger than them. He could clearly feel the difference. Sean had a faint smile on his face. No need. His Majesty Quemras said that we don't need to do anything. We only need to wait to return to heaven. Before that, please control us like His Majesty. Sean's smile was as dazzling as summer flowers. Walloon did not understand that he had Quemras' power. However, he could not understand Quemras' intentions. He did not understand his words either. He also did not understand what the 4 Pillar Kings meant. They already knew that he'd lied to them. However, they seemed to be a bit too generous. They had completely forgotten about the past and were still willing to be loyal to him. They had power but no cultivation. It was awkward. Just then, a voice came from the back. The people from the Vrykul family must be crazy. Every time they come in and out, it's like they're taking a shower. It's like a water curtain cave. Chen Zhao combed his hair and shook off the water on his body. Everyone looked behind them and saw a few people walking out from the entrance of the cave. However, the combination of this group of people was really strange. 3 adults and a group of children. Who are you? Get out of here, Maji Vrykul yelled. Walloon waved his hand and said indifferently, Maji, move. Walloon had already seen Nawat's singer. Clearly, they were here for revenge. Yes, Mr. Walloon. So ugly. Who designed this armor? Chen Zhao looked at the dazzling armor on Walloon. He really felt that it was ugly. Extremely ugly. Walloon's expression started to turn ugly. This was the masterpiece of the Cook family's ancestor. It was also a divine artifact that he was proud of. But now, it was being belittled by a stranger. What made him feel the most ashamed was that, now that everyone's eyes were on him, it made him feel even more ashamed. Warren clenched his fists. He felt like he was going to have a cerebral hemorrhage. But as soon as he got angry, the mana in his body surged like a tsunami. The 4 Pillar Kings frowned and took a step back. Although they were not as powerful as the current Warren. However, they wouldn't be scared off by Warren's aura. It was just that Warren's strength had exceeded their expectations. Warren's current strength had already surpassed Quemira's. Edith's expression changed drastically. What a terrifying aura. Just the aura alone was enough to make him unable to resist it. Who will kill him? Warren asked indifferently. At this moment, Geraldine Vrykul stepped forward. Mr. Warren, please give me a chance to express my loyalty to you. Warren nodded slightly. Go, don't let me down. Ames Edith also took a step forward, looking like he was ready to die for justice. Geraldine, I didn't expect you to be a traitor. Ames Edith knew Geraldine Raikou. Geraldine Raikou smiled disapprovingly. Ames, stop talking. Just do it. If you can't even beat me, you'd better leave. I don't want to kill you. This was the only thing Geraldine Raikou could do. In your dreams, Ames Edith growled. His body suddenly split into two, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. Oh, Chen Zhao exclaimed. Edith's spell was very similar to the doppelganger. But upon closer inspection, he realized that something was wrong. Ames Edith's clones had indeed become 8, but the 8 clones only had 1/8 of the original's power. The original's power was also 1/8. In other words, Ames Edith's spell had actually split his power into 8 parts. However, when Ames Edith's clones and original fought, Chen Zhao realized that the clone spell wasn't without its advantages. Both his main body and his doppelgangers had unique attributes. His main body was water element, while his other clones were lightning element, voodoo element, fire element, wind element, earth element, strength element, speed element, and stealth element. The 8 clones attacked at the same time. The scene was as beautiful as a painting, brilliant and colorful. Whoosh! What a beautiful and magnificent spell. Then, he turned to the kids beside him and asked, "Do you want Coke and popcorn?" Geraldine Vicker, on the other hand, dodged Ames Edith's intensive attacks in a slightly awkward manner. But at this time, Edith's magic flaws were also revealed. The attack power was too weak. Geraldine Raikou was obviously hit by magic several times, but he was only lightly injured. Not a single spell could seriously injure him or make him lose the ability to fight. You really shouldn't use this spell in front of me. I know you too well, especially your weakness. Amy Edith's expression grew more and more solemn. The last person he wanted to face was Geraldine Viact. If necromancy was said to be the strangest of all magic systems, then Geraldine Raikou was the weirdest psychic among all the psychics. Suddenly, one of Edith's clones shrieked and turned into smoke. Amy Edith froze, his face full of astonishment. He had no idea how Chen Zhao did it. How had his clones been destroyed? Then the second, the third, the fourth, at the 7th clone, only Edith's main body was left. Isn't it weird? Geraldine Viact looked at her friend with a smile. This is my newly developed spell, Psionic Tentacles. It transforms magic into invisible tentacles. This spell is very similar to Countless Ties, Chen Zhao murmured. Geraldine Vicker seemed to have heard Chen Zhao's words and glanced at him. When she saw Chen Zhao, she almost vomited blood. Chen Zhao was sitting cross-legged on the ground. The kids beside him were the same. Everyone had Coke and popcorn in their hands. Did they come here to watch a movie? Uncle go, the kids cheered at the same time. You can't beat him, Chen Zhao called. You better back off. You can't sense his tentacles unless you can open your psionic vision. Psionic vision. Edith could tell that Chen Zhao was reminding him. But he couldn't do it. He looked at Geraldine Viact, unwilling to give up. You should listen to him. You can't beat me. Chapter 1820. Edith was discouraged. But he was also desperate. He'd been pessimistic about this trip. Especially after seeing Walloon's terrifying and peerless pressure. He no longer held any hope in this matter. Now, he couldn't even beat Geraldine Raikou. He couldn't stop Walloon and take revenge. Edith couldn't see any hope. Geraldine Raikou looked at Chen Zhao. Mister over there, do you think you can beat me? Any kid I send can beat you up. Do you believe me? Chen Zhao said casually. Geraldine Reichel smiled but didn't say anything. She looked at Chen Zhao calmly. Kilo, stand up and beat him up, Chen Zhao said. Kilo, who was happily eating popcorn and sipping Coke, heard the bad news in the blink of an eye. Uncle, you want me to go? Yeah, go. Teach him a lesson for me. Everyone was stunned by Chen Zhao's decision. How could such a young boy defeat Geraldine? Do you believe me? Chen Zhao asked seriously. Kilo didn't believe him, but he couldn't say it. He looked at Chen Zhao with a troubled expression. Good. I'll take it that you agree if you don't say anything. Chen Zhao grabbed Kilo's shoulder. Go. Kilo was thrown before Geraldine Reichel. For a moment, Kilo didn't know what to do. Chen Zhao sat cross-legged and supported his face with one arm. Smiling, he looked at Kilo. In Chen Zhao's small world, spiritual qi was silently seeping into Kilo's body. Others couldn't, but Kilo could. Because Kilo was an enhancer, his body was stronger than normal people. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't drink too much. Edith's face was green. Mr. Chen, what are you doing? Are you sending your child to die? Just because you lost doesn't mean others will. Chen Zhao glanced at and then at Kilo. Kilo, beat him up. Don't give me face. Kilo was helpless. Facing the powerful Geraldine Reichel, he could only brace himself. Ha! Kilo raised his arm and hammered at Geraldine Viact. There was a smile on Geraldine Reichel's face. Her psionic tentacles had already wrapped around Kilo's limbs. Koluo suddenly felt his limbs grow sluggish, but it didn't affect his movements. Kroos suddenly exerted his strength and punched Geraldine Viact. Geraldine Reichel's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly put up a barrier in front of him. Sizzle! Kroos' fist slammed into the wall, producing a sharp, ear-piercing sound. Everyone had an uncomfortable expression on their faces. Then he saw the barrier in front of Geraldine Reichel was falling apart rapidly. What great power! Edith and Geraldine Vicker were old acquaintances. He had seen Geraldine Reichel's magic. He knew that this barrier was so strong that it could even withstand the impact of a truck. But it was shattered by a child. Kilo's momentum had weakened, but he was still as ferocious as ever. It landed heavily on Geraldine's face. Geraldine Reichel covered her face and sat on the ground, astonishment written all over her face. Everyone else had the same expression. Astonishment. Including Kilo, they all had the same expression. So weak. Tilting his head, Kilo looked at Geraldine Reichel. This sentence not only embarrassed Geraldine Vicker, but it also embarrassed Edith. After all, he'd been defeated by Geraldine Reichel. Kilo turned his head to look at Chen Zhao. Clap. Chen Zhao led the applause, and the other children followed. Kilo was instantly filled with energy. Kilo, be more arrogant, Chen Zhao called. Come on, you minions. Kilo made an indecent gesture. Fuck, don't give me the middle finger, Chen Zhao immediately shouted. Geraldine Reichel's face darkened. These people were too arrogant. Saying that, he was about to walk forward, but Geraldine Reichel stopped him. You can't beat him, Geraldine Reichel said. Geraldine Reichel was also surprised. He didn't feel that Kilo was very powerful. Yet, Kilo could ignore his magic. He didn't get any answers from Kilo either. Just then, Bion walked out. Brat, let me exchange a move with you. As long as you can survive my attack, I will admit defeat. Just like before, Byron became younger with every step he took. At the same time, he also emitted a horrifying pressure. Compared to Geraldine Reichel, his pressure was 10 times, 100 times stronger. Edith's expression turned solemn. Kilo also took a step back unconsciously. Unlike Wallen, who almost enveloped the area with his aura, Bayon's aura was very directional. When everyone looked at Bayon, it was as if they were looking at a ruin. The children beside Qin Zhao all shut their mouths. They were also shocked by Bayon's power. Kilo, come back, Qin Zhao called. Kilo had been strengthened by Qin Zhao, but it was very limited. He definitely couldn't fight an enemy of this level. The enemy before him was definitely in the Shangqing state. He wasn't much weaker than Zhang Tianyi. Just as Qin Zhao was about to stand up, Navot said, "Let me do it." "You?" Qin Zhao frowned at her. "I don't have much time," Navot said. "I don't have much time," Nawat Singh said. Once it was over, she would have no combat ability at all. Once the duration of the mirror image magic was over, she would have no combat strength to speak of. Chen Zhao thought for a moment, nodded, and sat back down. With each step, she also grew a bit larger. Similarly, with every step she took, her figure grew a little larger. Her skin glowed with a golden light. Edith's face was filled with shock. At the moment, Navot seemed to be a different person. That shocking pressure was actually on par with Byron's. Nawat Singh was also taking a gamble. At this moment, Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingo rushed over. Their arrival didn't attract much attention. They were quietly observing the situation. Everyone's gaze was on Nawat Singh. Wallen narrowed his eyes at Navot's. She was so powerful. He'd lost to her last time. This woman was Okula's older sister. But, where did she get such great power from? She could actually be on par with Bayon, even if it was only temporary. It was still unbelievable. Who was Bayon? He was the Northern Pillar King. Chapter 1821. Bayon looked at Navot's in surprise. He also didn't expect someone to be on par with him. Even if it was just in terms of aura. It was still unbelievable. "Come," Bayon said calmly. Navot's didn't hold back. She had already tried her best. But the more she tried, the more she felt that the person before her was powerful and undefeatable. He had reached an inhuman level. Navot's didn't have any extra flourishes. It was just a simple punch. It came crashing down with the pressure of Mount Tai. Admiration flashed in Bayon's eyes. He suddenly pushed his palms forward. A dazzling impact shot out from Bayon's palms. The impact instantly drowned Navot's. The impact shot toward the back of Navot's like a hot knife through butter, all the way to the mountain wall. The mountain wall was blasted apart, and tens of thousands of tons of rubble poured down in torrents. Everyone was shocked by this attack. Okula's heart tightened. In the next instant, Nawat Singh broke through the light and stood above Bayon. She raised her hand and punched down. It smashed heavily onto Bayon's head. Bayon was sent flying, leaving a ditch on the ground. Nawat stood where she was, panting heavily. Bayon stood up too. Half of his face was almost deformed. One could imagine how much damage that attack had done to him. However, Bayon's sunken cheeks were quickly filled with blood. After spitting out some blood, Bayon's face had basically returned to normal. Edith's face was completely pale. Even Navot's, who had been so powerful, wasn't Bayon's match. On the other hand, Byron was unscathed after suffering such a heavy blow. Bayon wasn't angry. Instead, he was even more shocked. He saw that Navot's aura was weakening. In fact, he'd already felt that while Navot's had a strong aura, her foundation was rather weak. However, the battle prowess that she displayed was refreshing. Still a little lacking. Bayan stood before Navot's and shook his head. He said regretfully, "What a pity. She's such a junior." "Yeah, it's still not enough." Chen Zhao finally stood up. Even if Navot's gave it his all, he was still a far cry from Bayan. Okula's face was filled with worry. After all, that was her older sister. Byron looked up and saw Chen Zhao walking toward him. Chen Zhao's aura was weak, so weak that it was almost undetectable. Byron narrowed his eyes at Chen Zhao, who had his hands in his pockets. Byron pointed at Navot's and looked at Chen Zhao. "Do you want to save her?" "No need. You can't kill anyone in front of me." Byron sneered. His palm that was pointing at Navot's was already shining brightly. "How about now?" Suddenly, Chen Zhao disappeared before Byron's eyes. Byron felt a chill down his spine and quickly turned around. Chen Zhao appeared behind him, waving his fist with one arm. His eyes were fierce. Sean, Zoran, and Erewhon attacked at the same time. Sean abruptly shot out a dozen or so string balls. The dozen or so balls of string spun and shot out colorful ropes. They wrapped around Chen Zhao's raised right arm. Chen Zhao's right arm shook forcefully. The dozen ropes representing different elements were instantly scattered. Byron didn't retreat. Instead, he advanced and grabbed Chen Zhao's right wrist, preventing him from moving. Chen Zhao finally took out his left arm from his pocket. But at this time, Zoran quickly cast a spell and shouted, "Dragon Lock." Then, the ground was pierced by chains. The chains shot toward Chen Zhao from the ground and wrapped around his left arm. His left and right arms were controlled at the same time. Erewhon put his palms together and hacked down from above. Radiant Emperor, slash. Intense light gathered in Erewhon's palms. From within the light, an extremely sharp and huge sword extended out. The sword was called Radiant Emperor. It hacked down at Chen Zhao. Clang, Chen Zhao tilted his head slightly and the sword landed on his shoulder. Blood was seen, but the sword couldn't go any deeper. Everything had happened too quickly. Of course, it ended just as quickly. It started from when Chen Zhao appeared behind Byron without any warning. Then, when the four Pillar Kings attacked at the same time, controlling and counterattacking Chen Zhao. It only happened in an instant and ended in an instant. Aim Edith's face was filled with shock. Maji Vicar and Geraldine Vicar were even more shocked. Because they knew who the four people who attacked them were. Any one of them was a god of the Roma people. But now, all four of them had attacked at the same time. Who exactly was that person? Chen Zhao was controlled, but his expression was calm and indifferent. On the other hand, the four clearly had Chen Zhao under control, but their expressions were still serious. Kilo, come and help Nawat's back. Nawat's was right behind Chen Zhao. That was why Chen Zhao restrained his movements. Kilo hurriedly ran to Nawat's. He helped her back to the side. Xan Li, protect everyone, Chen Zhao said. Xan Li's face was filled with worry. After all, Chen Zhao didn't seem to be in a good situation. Are you sure they can protect themselves? Suddenly, Warren charged at the children. Boom! Just then, the four Pillar Kings, who should have controlled Chen Zhao firmly, suddenly felt an unparalleled power surge at them. The four Pillar Kings were sent flying. The next moment, Chen Zhao blocked Warren's path. Chen Zhao's hand suddenly grabbed the shoulder of Warren's golden armor and squeezed hard. Crack! The shoulder was crushed by Chen Zhao. As expected, I still think your armor is too ugly. Warren's expression darkened. He took a few steps back and pointed his arms at Qin Zhao. In an instant, 10 golden swords appeared behind Warren and shot towards Qin Zhao. Clang, 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 the golden swords weren't damaged at all. Qin Zhao waved casually and the 10 golden swords turned into scrap metal. The scene was silent. Everyone stared at Qin Zhao in disbelief. Especially Maji Vicar and Geraldine Vicar. They knew who the 4 people were. They also knew what kind of existence Warren was now. But Qin Zhao was fighting 1 against 5. Okula Singh, Barbara Rush, and Domingley were equally shocked. They also knew that those 4 were the legendary 4 Pillar Kings. Qin Zhao picked up a scrap sword from the ground. He looked left and right. Fuck, it's not gold. What a waste of my feelings. Qin Zhao was so angry that he squeezed the scrap sword into a ball. That ugly armor you're wearing is made of gold, right? Edith's eyeballs almost popped out. This guy had been so unreliable the entire time. He didn't expect him to be so strong. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1822. The 4 Pillar Kings glanced at each other. This person was very strong. So strong that it made people's hair stand on end. I can't believe there's a monster like you in this era. Byron looked at Qin Zhao. It was hard to tell if his tone was gratified or regretful. Just then, everyone realized that Byron's body and face had become younger. But his aura had also become stronger, until he was like a baby. His aura was more than 10 times stronger. Sean's hair also grew longer. Her hair was blood red to begin with. Now, it was even burning. Zoran and Erewhon's auras also grew rapidly. They hadn't used their full strength before, but now they had to. Warren spread his arms, and hundreds of golden swords appeared behind him. Everyone had thought that Qin Zhao could really fight 1 against 5. But now, they realized that their thoughts had been too excessive. The 4 Pillar Kings and Warren had already fought to a terrifying degree. But at this moment, it was as if everyone's foundation had been increased tenfold. Could they really fight this battle? Gritting his teeth, Qin Zhao looked at the 4 Pillar Kings. Are you serious now? Why don't the 4 of you pretend to fight me? That way, everyone can report back. The 4 Pillar Kings stared at Qin Zhao with dark expressions. Who would pretend to fight with you? Forget it, forget it. Looks like you really want to fight. Clone, 10,000 spells return to 1, Dark Assimilation, Strength Multiplication, Giant Spirit Transformation. Right now, Qin Zhao had become a 5-meter-tall giant. Qin Zhao took out the Black Trident. Just like Qin Zhao, the Black Trident could change in size and length. Everyone was a little frightened. Including the children behind Qin Zhao. Attack! Warren shouted. Hundreds of golden swords shot at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao pointed with his left hand. Thousands of stone swords appeared in the air. The scene was much more majestic than hundreds of golden swords. The 4 Pillar Kings attacked Qin Zhao at the same time. Qin Zhao held the Black Trident in his right hand and swept it out. Retreat! Sean felt her scalp go numb. She cried out and immediately flew back. Byron hesitated for a moment. When he wanted to retreat, it was already too late. He could only raise his magic to the maximum and yell, "Immortal!" Instantly, Byron's body became as resplendent as a diamond. However, when the trident swept across his body, the diamonds on his body began to crack like glass. The dazzling diamond disintegrated and sputtered outwards. Byron's diamond body was cut in half at the waist. Then, Chen Zhao stabbed at Byron's half-body. Byron's head exploded like a watermelon. Immediately afterward, all of Byron's fragments burst into a bright light that soared into the sky. The beam of light lasted for a few seconds before the diamond-like fragments were reduced to dull ashes. Dead. Byron is dead. Sean muttered to himself. He has returned to heaven and earth. This time, he is truly free. Erewhon's face was emotionless. Who is this guy? Zoran's gaze was unprecedentedly serious as he stared at Chen Zhao. Whether it was the remaining three Pillar Kings or Warren. Or Maji Vicar, Geraldine Vicar and Okula Singus. They all stared at him in disbelief. One strike. It was just one strike. Everything was over. An unbelievable opponent. However, the next moment, Chen Zhao said something that made everyone speechless. What a pity, Chen Zhao said regretfully. If I sold such a large diamond, I don't know how many millions I could get. Warren, Zoran, Erewhon and Sean's gazes became unprecedentedly serious. Of course, Sean's gaze was still serious and his smile was still like a blooming flower. Warren, I didn't think that you would encounter such a strong opponent right after you succeeded. I won't lose. Warren's expression was cold and his gaze was serious. His tone was firm, but he gave off a feeling of lack of confidence. If His Majesty Quemelas faced him personally, the outcome might be 50-50, but, I'm stronger than Quemelas, Warren said forcefully. Zoran glanced at Warren indifferently. You only obtained Quemelas's power, but not his realm. Also, how much of Quemelas's magic do you know? The opponent is at the same level as Quemelas. His realm matches his strength and battle experience are extremely rich. You, on the other hand, are just a nouveau riche who inherited a huge inheritance. Ha! Sean chuckled. But her laughter was so piercing to Warren's ears. Cut the crap. Quemelas wants you to listen to my orders. Even if you die, you have to fight to the end. As you wish. Sean smiled and shrugged. However, Chen Zhao suddenly attacked. The black trident appeared in front of Sean without any warning. Sorry for interrupting your conversation. Sean's expression froze, but in the blink of an eye, a relieved smile appeared on her face. Free. This time, she could finally be truly free. The black trident smashed Sean's beautiful head into pieces. The other spectators shivered in the cold wind. Chen Zhao did not care whether the opponent was male or female, beautiful or not. Hell's chains. Zoran roared. Countless chains broke out of the ground and swept toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's huge body was instantly bound tightly by the hell's chains. But Chen Zhao was not trapped for long. Chen Zhao flipped his wrists and grabbed the chains on his arms. He pulled hard and the ground seemed to have been plucked. The chains on Chen Zhao's body were like spider silk. The hell's chains were torn to pieces. Radiant Emperor, kill. Erewhon's attack was dozens of times more powerful than the previous one. It landed on Chen Zhao as if it was going to split the ground. But the result this time was even worse than last time. At least Chen Zhao could see blood last time. But this time, the huge sword fell apart the moment it landed. In the blink of an eye, Chen Zhao appeared before Erewhon and grabbed her head. He crushed it like a watermelon. Everyone received a huge visual impact. Zoran did not stop. Chen Zhao turned around and threw the black trident. Whoosh! Zoran was pierced by the black trident. The black trident had the power to kill gods. The immortal power inner core of Old Turtle embedded in it turned the black trident from a normal magic weapon into a weapon that could kill gods. Zoran looked down at the huge hole in his chest. He suddenly smiled and flipped forward. A pillar of light shot into the sky. It was like the last light of this worshipped god. The 4 pillar kings had all turned to dust. 9 Heaven's divine emperor. Chapter 1823. The black trident was stuck in the ground. Chen Zhao didn't take it back. He turned to look at Warren and grinned. You look really ugly, but it looks like you can take a beating. You think you can beat me? Warren was both shocked and angry. He looked at Chen Zhao with some fear in his eyes. But Warren clearly wasn't going to give up. Wayland's body suddenly enlarged. No, it wasn't just enlarging, it was the armor on his body that was enlarging. Bigger and bigger, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, he didn't stop until he was 200 meters tall. Right now, Warren was like a statue made of gold. However, this golden statue could move. Everyone was dumbfounded as they looked at the golden giant that blotted out the sky. Their astonishment couldn't be described with words. This was beyond their understanding. It was also beyond what they could do. Chen Zhao's body also glowed gold, but it wasn't obvious. Chen Zhao looked up at the 200-meter-tall golden giant. He murmured to himself, if only this was real gold. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao could only think about it in his head. This giant was probably 100,000 tons, right? Chen Zhao flew up and kicked the golden giant's left thigh. Crack, the golden giant's left thigh deformed from the kick. Everyone's mouths were wide open. Chen Zhao was indeed tall compared to normal people. But compared to a 200-meter-tall golden giant, he was still tiny and insignificant. But it was the difference between an ant and an elephant. The golden giant's thigh was broken by Chen Zhao's kick. The moment the golden giant lost its balance, it reached out to slap Chen Zhao in the air. But the next moment, Chen Zhao grabbed the golden giant's body and threw it over his shoulder. Rumble, everyone's mouths were wide open. Barbara Rush gulped. She was provoking him just now, right? She must have been blessed by God. She actually didn't get killed. Nawat Singh lay on the ground weakly. But she was also watching the battle. To her, this was the most shocking. Now, she finally understood how big the difference between her and Chen Zhao was. Even though they had the same abilities, there was a fundamental difference between them. This gap couldn't be bridged at all. She had been wondering if she could borrow a fraction of Chen Zhao's power with mirror magic. Would she be able to do that? Only now did she understand. How much was that? 1%. Or 1 in 1,000. Xan Li clutched her chest. She tried her best to imagine how powerful Chen Zhao would be after adopting them. But she had never thought that Chen Zhao would display such a shocking side. As for Warren's men, Maji Vrikol and the others, they couldn't describe their astonishment. The 4 pillar kings were all dead. They were practically tortured to death by Chen Zhao. Although their battle was shocking, it was not soul-stirring. Warren, who'd inherited Quimera's power, was also suppressed. Bang! A huge golden arm flew up. Roar! The golden giant let out a strange cry as Chen Zhao pressed it against the ground. Chen Zhao flew up and then dove down, landing heavily on the golden giant's chest. The golden giant couldn't get up in time and was once again blasted to the ground. The golden giant's chest had already caved in. Bang! Rumble! The golden giant finally lay motionless on the ground. Chen Zhao went up and twisted the golden giant's neck. Then he punched the golden giant's head. The golden giant's head was severely deformed. Chen Zhao punched a few more times, each with endless power. Finally, the metal shell was destroyed beyond recognition. Chen Zhao saw Warren, who was hiding inside. Warren stared at Chen Zhao in shock and anger. "You damn bastard. I haven't lost yet." Chen Zhao went up and pried open the metal. Warren was completely exposed before Chen Zhao. Warren fought back again. Countless golden swords shot at Chen Zhao. At the same time, he turned to leave. But Chen Zhao dodged and blocked Warren's figure. With a dragon tail whip, Warren was smashed into the ground heavily. "Maji, Geraldine. Do it!" Warren roared. Warren wanted Maji Vrykol and Geraldine Vrykol to attack. Of course, he wasn't targeting Chen Zhao. 100 of them wouldn't be enough for Chen Zhao. Warren wanted the two of them to attack the kids. This was to distract Chen Zhao. Maji Vrykol and Geraldine Vrykol glanced at each other. After a slight hesitation, they were about to attack the kids. But just then, a huge figure crawled out of the darkness. It was a completely black beast with wings on its back. There wasn't a single bit of skin on its body. It emitted a dangerous aura and protected the kids behind it. Maji Vrykol and Geraldine Vrykol were helpless. This black beast was most likely related to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao smashed Warren before the kids with a punch. Warren jumped up and immediately wanted to harm the kids. Just then, Chen Zhao stepped over and pressed him to the ground. Chen Zhao tore off Warren's armor, but the armor was torn off along with his bones and flesh. But after Chen Zhao tossed the armor part away, it flew back and stuck to Warren's body. "I hate these unkillable cockroaches." Chen Zhao waved his hand. The black trident that had been hundreds of meters away flew back into his hand. Chen Zhao stabbed the black trident into Warren's abdomen. Wah! Ah! Warren let out a tragic scream. The black trident pierced into his body, causing his powerful recovery ability to lose its effect. Even the holy armor couldn't protect him. This time, Chen Zhao easily took off Warren's helmet. He looked up at Xinli Sing. "Xinli, do you want revenge?" Xinli's chest heaved up and down. Just as she was hesitating, the youngest Sindora walked over to Warren with her short legs. Bam! She spat at Warren's face. "I'm going to kill you, little bee." Chen Zhao stuffed a mouthful of dirt into Warren's mouth. "Uncle, can I do anything?" Kilo asked. "Yes, anything." Chen Zhao nodded, but then he added, "Don't do dirty things in front of your brothers and sisters." Crow went up and gave Walloon a heavy punch. However, his attack did not do much damage to Warren. Even though Warren's magic, recovery, and the power of the holy artifact were all suppressed. But he was still powerful. "Sindora, Mara, what are you two doing?" "Uncle," Mara said innocently. "I'm competing with Sindora to see who can spit more." Chen Zhao rubbed his forehead. "Binance, put on your pants." "I order you. Put on your pants." 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1824. Chen Zhao was frustrated. When we take revenge, we have to take revenge. We have to take revenge properly. Revenge is such a sacred thing. Don't do something that hurts the enemy by 1,000, but hurts yourself by 800, okay? When you grow up and realize what you did, you'll probably be traumatized for the rest of your life. Xanli, you really don't want some. Chen Zhao looked at Xinli Sing. Xanli hesitated for a long time, but in the end, she shook her head. "No. You really don't want it. It's best to vent. It doesn't matter what violent methods you use. Anyway, our family doesn't tolerate it." Xanli shook her head. "No need. I think you'll give him the punishment he deserves." Uncle, I want to take a photo with you. Didi tugged at Chen Zhao's calf. With Chen Zhao's current height, the 12-year-old Didi only reached his calf. Chen Zhao reached out and had Didi stand on his hand. Then he held Didi. Chen. Should we finish this earlier? I really need an ambulance now. Not Sing endured the pain all over her body. Her body was already overloaded from the attack she'd used. If Chen Zhao and the kids kept delaying, she'd have to go to the morgue. Fine. Chen Zhao lifted the black trident. Warren was still strung on the tip. I'll go talk to him about life. Chen Zhao carried Warren and disappeared before everyone. A while later, a pillar of light shot into the sky. After a while, Chen Zhao returned. There were still bloodstains on the black trident. Li glanced at Chen Zhao but didn't say anything. Chen Zhao removed the spell on him. Kilo, carry knots. Uncle, why me? Kilo lowered his head, not daring to look at Chen Zhao. Because you're strong. Otherwise, who would carry you? Your sister or brother? Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Let me do it, Edith said. I'm only good for this. Knots rolled her eyes at Chen Zhao. She pointed at Maji and the others. What about them? How? Kill them all. It's up to you. Navots glanced at Okula Singh. Forget it, their master is dead anyway. Chen Zhao glanced at Maji and the others. Everyone's expression was unnatural. Among all of them, only Geraldine Vickers didn't have much fear. Or you want me to kill them? Forget it then. They won't be a threat anyway. She glanced at her sister from the corner of her eyes, but her heart was full of complicated emotions. What a pity. I hope he didn't get the password. Everyone was speechless. No wonder when he had killed the 4 Pillar Kings, he had been so ruthless, yet he had not shown any signs of holding back. Killing Warren and avoiding everyone else. Li, the lives of everyone on the bus are in your hands. Uncle. I haven't gotten my license yet. I can only take it next year. Li didn't know what to do. It's okay. You can practice on all of us. It'll be easier for you to get your driver's license. Chen, I feel like all the bones in my body are broken. Can you send me to the hospital safely? Don't worry, I believe in Li, you know she can drive. She steals the steering wheel in the garage every night. I think Li has the heart of a racer. Li was too ashamed to show her face. She did like sports cars. But she also knew that she couldn't drive without a license. Plus, she had just arrived, so she had to keep a low profile. So, she would secretly touch the steering wheel every day. In the end, Chen Zhao, the unscrupulous parent, exposed her. If you can send Nawats to the hospital and send us back to the hotel safely, I'll buy you a car for your 16th birthday. Li's face was filled with surprise and anticipation. The citywide blackout had already been completely restored. Chen Zhao looked at the night view, entering a rare moment of peace. Before Chen Zhao killed Walloon, he'd sensed something in his body. After Quemela's came out of Warren's body. Only then did Chen Zhao understand that it was a connection between the same kind. Quemela's was a man of God in that era. Quemela's had lived for 300 years. Of course, if there were no accidents, he could have lived even longer. They had a short conversation. In any era, someone like Quemela's would be considered a madman. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't think of a madman as someone who killed and burned everywhere or had the ambition to rule the world. It was a kind of idealistic madness. Of course, Quemela's would kill too. If someone stopped his intentions or thoughts. he would probably kill too. However, in that era, he was an absolute king and an absolute powerhouse. Because of this, he felt lonely. Chen Zhao was pretty much invincible now, but he didn't feel lonely. Perhaps it was because there were too few entertainment programs in that era. If he could watch Victoria's Secret every night, he probably wouldn't be lonely. Of course, Quemulus's idealistic and goal were very pure. He wanted to create a perfect world, but not the real world. A perfect world of death. In the East, the underworld was the example. In the West, it was hell. Both were essentially the same. They were both worlds that the dead went to and lived in. But there were some differences between the two. Gods in the underworld were in charge of management. They were more like employees in a large company. On the other hand, hell was a kingdom ruled by demons. Those demon kings treated the souls from the human world as their private property. In Quemulus's guess, hell and the underworld were more like a complete world. However, regardless of whether it was hell or the netherworld, they were both much, much larger than the human world. So, in Quemulus's guess, the human world was incomplete. Hell and the underworld were more like mismatched parts. They were only there to ensure the operation of the human world. Quemulus wanted to use this to complete the incomplete parts of the human world. He wanted to create a world of the dead outside of hell or the underworld. Quemulus used his ability to open up an alternate dimension. Of course, Chen Zhao's alternate dimension was completely different. Quemulus's was larger and more complete. For this, he spent more than 100 years constantly making up for the inadequacies of this alternate dimension. In this aspect, Chen Zhao was far inferior to Quemira's. Of course, Chen Zhao's ambition wasn't here either. Chen Zhao and Quemulus's conversation was more about complementing each other's inadequacies. Chen Zhao was better at fighting. Quemulus's fighting was actually his weakness. But his weakness was only relative to Chen Zhao. After all, he was a god. How weak could he be? 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1825. Quemira's legacy wasn't his power. It was the heaven for the dead that he'd spent 150 years creating. Quemira's was too tired. He didn't want to maintain it anymore. He couldn't maintain it anymore. He hoped that Chen Zhao could take over the heaven. But Chen Zhao refused. Only a lunatic would accept it. Quemira's was a lunatic. He'd created trouble for himself. Then he'd merged with the heaven he'd created. Now, he was free. But he wanted Chen Zhao to take it over. He wouldn't do such a thankless thing even if he was beaten to death. When he returned to the hotel, the sky was already bright. Everyone looked a little tired. As soon as he went upstairs, he saw Portia walk out of her room with a haggard expression. She hadn't slept since Chen Zhao woke her up last night. After settling little Larissa down, little Jerlin woke up again. Then she wanted to find her father. Where could Portia find one for her? After much persuasion, Chen Zhao finally calmed Jerlin down. In the end, the electricity went out, just like that. Then the temperature in the room started rising. Jerlin started crying again. Little Larissa woke up too. Anyway, she'd been tormented for the whole night. Portia ran to the front desk angrily. But the front desk couldn't give her electricity. "Boss, I'm telling you now, I want," Chen Zhao patted Portia's shoulder. "You're not awake right now. Go rest for half a day. Tell me what you want when you're awake." Stunned, Portia returned to her room embarrassedly. Her resentment only lasted for a moment. After venting, she sobered up. What a joke. No matter what. The money she owed was a topic that couldn't be avoided. Forget it. She'd just be a laborer for Qinzhao. Oh, book a return ticket for today. We're going back to LA today. Today. Go back. But. Boss, didn't you say I'd rest for half a day? That's right. On the plane, the flight is exactly 6 hours. Portia really wanted to buy a gun and shoot Qinzhao. But then she remembered that Qinzhao had faced more than a dozen gunmen before. He'd broken all their limbs. Portia stopped imagining things in her mind. Unless she could get a cannon and tie Qinzhao in the mouth, on the plane, where's Miss Knots? Hospital. What happened to her? Trichosant's muscle disorder. What illness is this? Diarrhea. Portia immediately reacted to the situation. Qinzhao always spouted nonsense in front of her. Moreover, he had never been afraid of cold or raw. All kinds of jokes were made. After the plane took off, Portia could finally sleep peacefully. The seats in the first-class cabin were spacious and could be adjusted back and forth, so it was quite comfortable. However, just as Portia fell asleep, she was woken up by someone. Portia, can I switch places with you? Xianli asked. Portia felt like she was about to go crazy from being tormented by this family. But he couldn't lose his temper at the little girl. He could only change seats with Xianli. Uncle, I want to join the supernatural organization. We'll talk about it when you're of age, Qinzhao said indifferently. But Risa is only 14 years old, and your Moore is only 17 this year. Neither of them is of age. When Xianli and Lisa met for the first time, there was a little conflict. However, the two girls were about the same age, so they soon talked about everything. Xianli had heard that there was a tower of trials in the supernatural organization. Only people in the organization had the right to use it. To become stronger, one had to challenge the tower of trials again and again. To join the supernatural organization, one had to agree with Qinzhao. Risa was once a captive. Moore is older than me in the organization, Qinzhao said indifferently. The supernatural organization doesn't accept people anymore unless you have some value. Your main cultivation system is curses. Even if you were 10 times stronger, you still wouldn't be able to join the organization, let alone the current you. I can start as an outer member. If you can get into a famous university, I'll consider agreeing to your request. But, studying isn't my strong suit. Then try to make it your strong suit. Qinzhao's attitude was businesslike. Xianli stared at Qinzhao, annoyed. She wanted to become stronger. She didn't want to be as weak and powerless as before. The power that she'd once been proud of was so powerless in the face of any change. I don't want to go to university. You should know that my interest isn't in studying. I won't force any child to take the same exam. Even if you don't want to go to university, that's fine. I'm just stating my request. Accept or reject, I won't ask, Qinzhao said matter-of-factly. Of course, you still have to go to school. After all, I don't want to be sued by the Underage Protection Association. Qinzhao wasn't someone who only cared about grades. But he believed in one saying, going to university could broaden one's horizons. Not to mention those who dropped out of school and succeeded. In fact, those who went to university had a higher chance of success. Qinzhao didn't care how good his children were or how smart they were. But at least in a situation where it was within his power, Qinzhao didn't want their impulsiveness to affect their future. Qinzhao also didn't care if she was a successful businesswoman or a witch in the supernatural world. But the supernatural organization's circle was too small. If Qinzhao asked Xinli Sing to join them now, then her future vision would most likely be limited to the supernatural organization. Even if Axianlik said she wanted to travel around the world, Chen Zhao wouldn't object. One's horizons determined one's height. Even a super genius wouldn't be able to achieve anything if he was locked in a small village. He wouldn't be able to achieve anything because his horizons were only limited to the village. How about this? If you can stay in high school for 3 years, I'll give you a mana potion. If you get into a university, I'll get a list to find the cursed magic book you need. If you get into a famous university, I'll allow you to join the supernatural organization. What do you think of this deal? But my grades are terrible. I can hire a teacher to tutor you. Oh, right. I'll arrange for you to go to school next semester. You still have a lot of free time now. I can hire a tutor for you. Tutor. Xianli shuddered. I don't want a tutor, ever. Portia should be able to do this job. Chen Zhao murmured. Portia, who didn't know what was going on, shivered. Why do I suddenly feel cold? Is there something wrong with the cabin's temperature? Chapter 1826. On the way home, Portia, I've thought about it. I'm going to give you a raise. Portia, who was driving, jumped in fright for no reason. She almost drove Chen Zhao's new car into a ditch. Chen Zhao would never love someone for no reason. Nor would he give her warmth for no reason. Most of the time, Chen Zhao would throw out a piece of meat first. Then there would be a huge hole under the meat. It had always been like this, boss. I'm very satisfied with my current salary. Portia's expression was stiff. She was considering if she should just drive the car to the beach and die with Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao looked at Portia, who immediately averted his gaze. Boss. I'm driving. Don't disturb me. I plan to cancel your current debt in half a year. Since you don't want it, forget it. Chen Zhao turned and moved to the back. Portia was stunned. Boss, let's continue our conversation. However, Chen Zhao put on airs this time. He didn't say anything to Portia until the car entered the garage of Mingyue Villa. Boss, you said you'll cancel my debt in half a year. You have to keep your word. You might not be willing to do the work I give you. Who said that? I'm happy to do it. Xinli will start school in February next year. Her grades are a mess right now. I need you to tutor her so she can at least reach the level of her peers. It was indeed a trap. Portia accepted the task with tears in her eyes. After returning to Mingyue Villa, some children were full of energy, while others were exhausted. Chen Zhao and Portia packed their luggage. A while later, Fei Lai came back too. Portia immediately felt like she was unnecessary. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai cuddled together as if there was no one else around. Fei Lai, did you ask for leave today? It was only 1 in the afternoon. Fei Lai was actually back. No. LA issued a tide warning today. There'll be huge waves in the next few days, so Angel Beach is temporarily closed. How was your trip? Fei Lai asked. Not bad. It's just that Knots went to the hospital again. Beside her, Portia rolled her eyes. Play. Chen Zhao went to Minneapolis and stayed there for 1 night. Then he took a plane back in the morning. You call this play? But to Chen Zhao, it was indeed play. Because they ran out at night. No one knew what they were going to do. If they were going to do business, then why would they bring a group of children? Is it settled? Yes, it's done. Chen Zhao nodded. Call the people from the association. Let's have a party tonight. Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. The two of them were not averse to having a party with people from the association. As long as it was still a matter of atmosphere. Everyone's level was different, so the topic of conversation was different. It was just like Stephen and David. One was a world-class director, and the other was a police officer. They were both good friends, but if they were together, David would become Stephen's fan instead of his friend. This difference in status made it difficult for them to be friends who could talk about everything. This was also why Chen Zhao only wanted to invite one group of people. Today, he would gather with them. Tomorrow, he would drink with them. Portia heard their conversation. He thought to himself that he had to keep an eye on the kitchen later. Let's see who's cooking dinner. Portia now had a grudge against the chefs of the Bright Moon Villa. They could finish breakfast, lunch, and dinner without a sound. He appeared without a sound and disappeared without a sound. He was always so mysterious, which made Portia's curiosity rise to the extreme. Today, he had to unveil this mystery. Chen Zhao called West. Hey, West, bring people to my house tonight. I'm having a party. Okay. West didn't waste any time. In the evening, a large group of people arrived at the Bright Moon Villa. Portia noticed that the kitchen in the Bright Moon Villa was completely silent. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai weren't in a hurry either. The guests were already here. Why wasn't anyone working? What were they going to eat tonight? Everyone's here, right? Chen Zhao said. Let's go to the yacht tonight. Portia was stunned. She ran to the edge of the yard and looked down. She realized that a sumptuous meal had been prepared on the Hydra. Portia was crazy. That chef, or those chefs, were they playing hide and seek with her? Portia was speechless. The children and people from the association also ran to the beach to play. Chen Zhao and West stood in the yard. President, we've chosen 2 new missions. What missions? Where are they? Enter the Russian super drill hole. Is it the deepest hole ever drilled in human history? Yes, that drill hole. The red mission was specially approved by the Russian government. Does that mean the legend is true? They really drilled into the gates of hell? Not the gates of hell, West said. They drilled into the habitat of an underground creature. The mission requirement is to kill the mother of the creature. Do you need me to go with you? Let's stick to the old rules, West said. But it's almost 10,000 meters underground. If you run into trouble, you won't even have a chance to ask for help. Chen Zhao was still worried. Danger could appear at any time in the underground world. President, it's not that serious, West said. Actually, it's a popular place for spiritualists. They often walk around the super drill hole. What about the other red mission? African cave dragon. No, you're not strong enough to deal with an adult dragon. Chen Zhao shook his head. It's too risky. No, not to kill it, but to protect it. What? What's going on? Wasn't the previous mission to kill the dragon? How did it become to protect it? No one would have thought that the barbarian's cave poisonous dragon wasn't the scourge that was entrenched there. On the contrary, he was the guardian of balance on that prairie. Because of the Scarlet Red mission, a large number of spiritualists went there and attacked him, causing him to be seriously injured. Now, some unclean creatures are targeting the poisonous dragon, wanting to devour him. What will happen if Dulong dies? If Poison Dragon died, then the grass plain would lose its natural balance and become a desert, a forbidden zone for life. Therefore, for the sake of the grass plain and to protect Poison Dragon, the Scarlet Church changed their mission from killing Poison Dragon to protecting Poison Dragon after understanding the whole story. Chapter 1827. The Hydra was moving slowly on the sea. The yacht was on autopilot. "Hi, I'm Colin." Colin walked over to Axanli. Lisa and Immerse also followed them. "Hi, I'm Axanli." Lisa moved closer to Axanli and asked, "Did the president agree?" Axanli shook her head. "My uncle said that he'll only let me join the supernatural organization after I finish school. These adults are all like that. They don't care about our personal will." Colin drank, depressed. Axanli looked at Colin. "You're not a member of the supernatural organization either." Colin's father is an elite. "He's the oldest member," Moore said. "But there's a rule that if a member's family wants to join, both the member and the president must agree." "You're lucky," Colin said. "You only need Mr. Chin to agree." "Then can we join another organization?" Axanli asked. Everyone looked at Axanli and couldn't help but roll their eyes. "Sure," Lisa said. "But the president will destroy that organization later." In all of North America, in all of America, no organization can go against the president's will. Axanli thought of the battle last night. He'd faced the 5 legendary Romani Pillar Kings. In the end, he'd completed a one-sided massacre. Axanli also had a new understanding of the power of the spiritual world. In the past, she'd only thought that her father was powerful. At that time, she'd thought that there was no one more powerful than her father. She'd seen her father as her idol. However, during Warren's invasion, his father finally fell in front of her. The president is a very controlling person. If you're not related to him, he won't interfere. But if you're related to him, you have to listen to his orders, Moore said. Plus, in the LA area, apart from the supernatural organization, there's only the psionic team. That organization is the supernatural organization's enemy. I'm sure the president will be happy to get rid of them. There are other hostile organizations in LA. Can't Uncle deal with them directly? That's not something that can be decided by force. It's very complicated. But if the president finds an excuse, he'll get rid of the psionic team without hesitation. But my academic performance is very poor. Axanli said with a sad face, "If I follow Uncle's request, I won't be able to join the supernatural organization." "There's a way. Go to Ruan Faxaban." Moer suddenly had an idea and said. "Him? Is he from the supernatural organization?" "Yes, he's our alchemist. Maybe he knows how to make some potions to increase intelligence." "Which one is he?" "That's the guy with messy hair." Moore pointed at Ruan Faxben, who was eating and drinking on a plywood not far away. Ruan Faxi was definitely the most aloof member in the association. It was mainly because of his habit of only coming out of the laboratory once every few days. Therefore, most of the time, his body carried a foul stench. It wasn't just because of the smell of his own sweat, but also because his body always carried the smell of some experimental materials. "Luong, come here for a moment." Ruan Faxi looked up at Moore and the others, wiping the grease on his face on his clothes. "What for?" "Hello, Mr. Luong, I am Axanli, I know you. You're the president's adopted daughter, right?" "Luong, Axanli wants a potion that can increase her intelligence. I wonder if you can get it." "Magic potions can increase magic power directly," Ruan Faxi said. "Other than magic potions that can directly increase magic power, other types of potions have the effect of fair trade. In other words, they convert your other strengths into the abilities you need. For example, the wisdom potion can increase intelligence but weaken magic power." "Axanli, do you want it?" "Ha!" Everyone looked at each other. They didn't expect the intelligence potion to have such a restriction. Then why isn't the magic potion limited? Of course. What materials do magic potions need? The most important is the skeleton of a powerful magic creature. Therefore, magic potions aren't regular magic potions. They're more like supplements. Is there no other way? Xianli obviously wouldn't sacrifice her magic power to increase intelligence. There is, Ruan Faxi said. The golden apple, the fruit of wisdom. You mean the golden apple in Greek mythology? Yes, it's the golden apple in Greek mythology. Ruan Faxi looked at Xianli. If you can find the legendary golden apple, you'll gain wisdom. In Greek mythology, the golden apple was a gift from a tree that Gaia, the mother of the earth, brought back from the west coast as a wedding gift for Zeus and Hera. Zeus planted it in the sacred garden and it was guarded by his 3 daughters, Aegle, Irusha, Hesperides, and the 100-headed dragon. In Greek mythology, the golden apple appeared twice. The first time was when Hercules completed the 11th of the 12 great feats, which was to obtain the golden apple under the watch of the 3 goddesses and the 100-headed dragon. The second time was during the wedding of the human hero Piraeus and the ocean goddess Thetis. Eris, the goddess of conflict and discord, didn't receive the wedding invitation. Thus, she purposely gave a golden apple to the guests and claimed that it was for the most beautiful and powerful goddess. Queen Hera, goddess of wisdom Athena, and goddess of love and beauty Aphrodite didn't give in to each other. They all believed that they were the ones who deserved the golden apple. This golden apple eventually led to a war. Troy was destroyed by the Spartans. Can the golden apple gain wisdom? Moore asked. In Greek mythology, it doesn't say that eating the golden apple will give you wisdom. The golden apple can give you the ability you want, Ruan Faxi said. It's not limited to wisdom. It can also be your magic or other abilities. It's called the omnipotent fruit. But legends are just legends. It doesn't mean that the golden apple really exists. The Scarlet Mission includes finding the golden apple, Ruan Faxi said. Since the Scarlet Church believes that the golden apple exists, it's very likely that it does. Are there any clues? In the British Museum, there's an ancient book called the Book of Prometheus. It's said that this book records everything from the beginning to the end of Greek mythology. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.